That looks good. We're live. It's official. Episode 57. And we're back. Yeah, it's episode 57.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Yeah. Dude, we're just cruising, man. I've done 50 episodes in 1 year. It's 2 weeks of year one. So it's not bad for a first time podcast.
This is my third or fourth time being a part of it. I feel like
you're part of the family now.
I'm part of the family.
Amelia now.
Hello.
Amelia.
Amelia's in the familia.
I am. That sounds so Italian.
Welcome to the. We just had a whole other story with that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Part of the family now?
I am so excited
easy.
to have you on. Actually, so it's been a couple of weeks, folks. It's actually been like 3 weeks since I did a live show because there's been a lot of Skype interviews that have been going on with the bare knuckle fighters. So I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of those. There's going to be a lot more coming. There's a lot of surprises that are going to be coming with that. So just stay tuned. Can't tell you everything right away.
No fun.
No, it wouldn't be fun. You can't reveal everything all at once. You got to little by little.
Give them a little taste of it.
The one
Give them
group I can think of that does reveal everything all at once, strippers.
Strippers, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
They do. I forgot to tell you, this episode is rated G. Okay. He's like,
I didn't say anything ugly. I said the kind word for that profession. Is it really rated G?
Hell no.
No. I know this already.
She wants to leave. We're not gonna
I'm out the door if it's not.
No.
We're in a distillery, so I'm good.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
We are in Steel Tie Spirits Distillery in the Warehouse District, West Palm Beach, Florida. If you saw the episode we were here a few weeks ago, Dana Shaw was co-hosting. Shout out to Dana Shaw. This time in the co-host chair, we have John Morse. I'm very excited to have the cocktologist here.
I love
because
that.
he makes the best cocktails ever. Thank you for that.
How's
awesome.
that one? We got to give some props to Mark Strayton and Tim Rabier, both ex of a bar in Key West called The Other Side. Now Tim has a bunch of bars in Key West, the premiere of which is called General Horseplay. And if you want some actual cocktology, get yourself to Key West.
So
go see Tim and his team down at General Horseplay.
that's what we're doing this next then, right?
We're going to go to Key West.
Key West trip.
That's my hometown. I can make that happen.
Yeah.
Awesome. Actually, I got a nice little captain's hat I've been dying to wear. I'm going to wear it on the boat.
I can't wait. I'm going to call you Captain Stubing the whole time. Love boat.
Hot. I love the Love Boat.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that and Gilligan's Island, mate. I love Gilligan's Island.
I like Gilligan too.
Well, you're both Ginger and Marianne.
Yeah,
You got them both
Yeah.
Married into one.
I think so. I agree. And our other guest today is Amelia De Vita.
That's right, De Vita. Yeah.
From all the way down under in Australia.
Yeah.
And she's with the big 105.9 FM. She's a host there.
Yeah,
And
classic rock.
classic rock. So if you're into classic rock, like myself,
Hence why
Tune
you're
in.
a big fan of Gilligan's Island and love that.
Yeah.
You just love her from that era. I'm trying to.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I'm an AC/DC fan, that's for sure.
I love
God,
AC/DC.
we can
yeah.
be friends now.
Yeah,
This is
We
gonna
can? Okay, because if you don't like AC/DC, we can't be
We
friends.
can't.
So that's a thing.
Yeah.
All right, good.
I like AC/DC, Guns N' Roses.
Van
Yes.
Halen. I grew up on
Van Halen, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Motley Crue. I like Motley Crue more because they're crazy.
Did you see that
I
the
just
video
got
on
done
Netflix?
The movie.
Yeah,
The
The
Dirt.
Dirt?
Do you know who directed it?
No.
The guy who co-created and directed all of the Jackass movies, Jeff Tremaine.
No
He
way.
directed that movie.
That was
That's
perfect
crazy.
because the best was Ozzy Osbourne.
Because basically,
When he snorts
Motley
the
Crue-
ants,
And he
that
licks
was
his
my
own piss?
favorite.
And he also
Mental.
drinks Nicky Six. That was the original set of Jackass in real life guys. It was Motley Crue and Ozzy Osbourne. Just nothing is off limits. They'll
Yeah.
do anything for a response, and that's what Jackass was. So I'm not really surprised Tremaine got into that. Anyway, I digress. Great movie.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
see what it's called. But
Check it out.
Netflix.
The Dirt.
The Dirt.
The Dirt.
The Dirt.
It's their
Yeah.
album name.
Awesome movie.
Amazing.
Very happy with it.
Love it.
Mhm.
So, excited it's Saturday. It's 2:00. We're already drinking. John put together some fantastic drinks,
This
by the
is
way.
so good. This
Don't
was a
ever drink the
surprise.
same thing twice if you can help it, because then you're cheating your palate out of so much enjoyment.
Oh my gosh, I love that. What is this one called? Did you just make it up?
It's just called the Amelia cocktail,
Let's do it. Can we name this Amelia cocktail?
or we could just call it the DeVita.
I like
A
the
De Vita. That's badass.
That
I
is
like
badass.
it.
DeVita Loca.
Living De Vita Loca.
Living De Vita Loca.
That's
Uh-huh.
on the menu. That's on the menu.
I love it. And I love that you gave me a metal straw. Hashtag save
Well,
the
we,
turtles.
I don't know if anybody in this room even knows this. I have for a long time been a dive master, and I'm from Key West, and I have seen the reefs deteriorate. Everybody's seen that video of that poor turtle when they're trying to get this piece of plastic straight. He's crying and bleeding.
I know, it's
just
awful.
like the most pitiable thing. And I mean, God, the metal is available. The paper straws are what started out in straws, and then they came up with the plastic, and now they just.
I think things taste good out of metal. I don't know what it is. It's like out of glass or metal. You want a milkshake out of metal.
I prefer glass as a medium for anything, except I don't think a glass straw is really the safest.
No, probably not. If you want to keep all
These
your
are
teeth.
stainless steel, and we actually sell them here.
Yeah.
They have our little logo or
Oh,
our
cute.
name printed on it, but they come with a little pipe cleaner, so it doesn't ever get icky.
You got to clean
inside.
it. Nice. Yeah, and I actually learned how to dive as well, but in Indonesia. But the Great Barrier Reef in Australia is definitely under threat as well.
If you want to, maybe the three of us need to do a little tandem trip. We'll go to Key West diving.
And do diving.
And then we'll go to the Barrier Reef and do some.
Yeah.
See how it compares, because I don't know that it will, but I still think we should try.
Yeah, that's okay. As long as you're all right to do the trip, it's like it takes you 2 days to get there.
That's fine. I
think we can work it out. Road trip.
It seems like we might
I'm pretty
have
good
a
at road trips.
It's going to be a long road trip to get to Australia, but
There's
We'll
no
do it.
one road.
it's going to be road, air
Air
road.
trip.
It'll be planes, trains, and
Road,
automobiles.
yeah.
And I'm
Land
down
air and
with
sea.
that.
I'm good with land
For
air
sure.
and sea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm totally down with that.
Yeah.
We could do a road trip to Key West and get there.
But I want to bring the stainless steel straws with us.
We can bring the straws. We can bring the podcast gear. We can do.
They sell straws in Australia too. We're not just the Outback.
I wonder.
Just red dirt and then me just standing in the middle.
So, question about the Outback. Question: how do Native Australians feel about the Outback steak?
I love the way you say Australians. How do we feel about the Outback?
Yeah, because it's like Italians, olive
Not
oil,
the Outback. The Outback Steakhouse.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, don't even get me started. There's no such thing as a blooming onion. Does not exist. We do not have it in Australia.
I'm
Anyway.
heartbroken.
Yeah.
This whole time, I thought I was eating authentic Australian.
No.
Australian onions.
Yeah,
Steroids to
that's it.
start out bigger than a softball.
Just assume anything battered
And then
is
they
not
put the-
Australian.
Is that Australian?
Yeah, that's American.
Yeah, from what I understand, Foster's is not Australian for beer.
I've never drunk or heard of Foster's before I came here. I'm sure they probably do sell it.
Everybody in America, I think, universally loves the Australian accent, and I think if you put that in a commercial, Americans are like, "Let's go eat and drink that."
Yeah, because it's cool and it's different.
It's associated with that accent.
It'd be the same in Australia. Like we have a couple of restaurants just opened in Australia and they're like American diners.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the hot dogs and the milkshakes and all that. And people go crazy for
So
it.
let me ask you this:
Yeah.
I actually have a very good friend. Do you know the name Sarah Monahan?
No.
She was. Oh God! She was a child television star on a sitcom.
Okay.
She and her husband live here. She's been in the American Air Force for a long time. I don't know if she has dual citizenship, but she was a child television star, and she's still a bit of a celebrity in Australia. Anyway, she was telling me that Aussies love American rum.
Yeah, except I would go probably further and say that we like Bundaberg rum, which is actually rum made in Australia.
I have two
When my
different
mum grew
bottles
up.
of Bundaberg in my home. One is the overproof and one is the standard proof.
I'm not very surprised.
Bundy
Well,
rum is
she gave it
good.
to me. She gave it to me. She
Yeah.
goes back and forth
That's
a lot, and she brings our rum, our black coil rum, to Australia. And I guess she is a fairly frequent guest co-host on the Australian version of The View.
Okay.
She won last year, I believe, a year ago, the Aussie version of The Biggest Loser.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
she and her husband and I would go out, and she would just be like, "Oh my gosh, this is the last good meal that I get to have before I have to go and
weigh in.
let them torture
Yep.
her and blah blah." She wanted.
I mean,
That's
I've been here since 2016 now, so.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
really fresh.
Mm.
Wow.
Really fresh. It's 5 years. 5 years?
2016. It's 3
So
years.
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
I can't math. That's why I do distilling in Baltimore.
I mean, it is both
Give me a
things.
But you know
computer.
your ounces, though. That's a good thing.
I have a converter in my Google app for that. Ounces to liters to all those things. Anyway.
But,
But I know that back in colonial Australia,
Mhm.
when it was still subject to the British Crown, there were two forms of currency. There was the British pound sterling, and there was rum that you could trade in back in those days. That is also the case with American colonial days.
What?
You could use, look it up.
This guy knows everything there is about alcohol
Including that you could
and the
trade in
history
it.
of it.
I don't know how much you know about American history, but most of our viewers and listeners, I'm sure, know who Paul Revere was. Paul Revere, when we
He was
were
in the Beastie Boys song. I know exactly who he is.
namesake, although it has nothing to do with the revolution. When we were trying to cast our shackles off from the British Crown and be independent, 1776, when that whole thing was going on, he was sent with a message that the Redcoats are coming on a horse in the middle of the night. It was called the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. He pulled over twice on his midnight ride, each time for a dram of rum. The first time was to steady his nerves, and the second was because he saw a pub in a passing village and he didn't want to lose his buzz. So rum is inextricably tied with American history.
That's crazy.
No wonder I like drinking it, and I like history.
Oh,
It
here's
makes sense.
Let me give you this, and then we'll get back to the Aussie of it all. In the 1630s and 40s, whenever the Caribbean archipelagos were growing sugar cane and sending sugar back to Western Europe. For every 2 pounds of sugar that you manufacture out of cane, 1 pound of molasses is the byproduct. Molasses never existed before they started making sugar in the Caribbean, or at least not in those quantities. And it didn't really matter because when they would manufacture it in Asia and trade it to the West, but in the Caribbean islands, they didn't have anything to do with the molasses. Rum hadn't been born yet. They didn't have any place for it. They didn't have any use for it. So they literally would row it out into the ocean and dump that shit in the water. And within about a half a generation, they figured out they were killing the reefs and they couldn't catch fish and they were really up against it if they were going to survive. So they had to figure out something else to do with molasses. So it is therefore totally true that rum is the result of one of humanity's first ever attempts at conservation. So I say drink up and save the earth.
That's amazing.
Right. I like that. I like that a lot. That's great.
Wow.
That's one little segment of the tour that we do here at Still Tie Spirits. If you want to come in and we're going to geek out on you with the rest.
I love that.
I love it.
So much history.
Absolutely. So, and we're talking about the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Bringing that up. Obviously, one of the things we're going to be talking about on the show today is the Hurricane Dorian, the Bahamas. I mean,
hurricanes in general need a big chat.
Yeah, and you've been doing a lot of work, I see, with the hurricane yesterday, the
What were
day
you doing the
before.
last few days?
So we have a partnership at iHeartRadio with a man called Mobile Mike, and he's a partner of ours, and he has all these amazing relationships, and so we've been able to, especially with the police, we've been able to incorporate them in this journey, which it's been a long time. What was it? It feels like it's been 2 weeks that we've been
Since we've been
on
dealing with the
alert
name
and
Dorian.
dealing with it, and
Sure.
yeah, so essentially we partnered with him. We did 2 solid days of relief effort yesterday and the day before. And for over 12 hours each day, people were coming in. We would be there broadcasting live, and we would weigh it, palletize it, number it, put it in a truck. And I think we filled over more than 20 trucks, big trucks,
Oh my God.
with tents and with water. And the
God
water,
bless.
one woman she was Bohemian. She was from somewhere in the Bahamas, and she came with what we would call in Australia as a ute. It's like a truck with a flatbed at the back.
It's called a ute.
A utility vehicle.
In New York, a ute is a kid.
Really? A
Youth.
child?
Yeah.
A youth.
Oh.
You ever see My Cousin Vinny?
No, but I do
You
know
gotta-
that's a famous movie.
gotta watch that movie.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. No, I've never seen
The two
it.
utes. Yeah.
Everybody who's watching this is howling.
Oh, like a youth. A youth.
A ute.
A youth.
The two youths.
Okay,
He
no.
called it the two utes.
Because
So-
he has a New York accent like Joe has.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You do.
so a ute for the purposes
Yeah,
of
and
this
she
story.
just bought like a whole bunch of water in
She
the back.
filled up her ute with
Big
bottled
things
water.
of water, yeah. And then she came back again and did it again. She rented a U-Haul.
A ute home?
A ute-haul.
U-Haul.
A U-Haul.
I love the accent. I love the
Oh my
accent.
God.
That's great.
I almost moved there because I love the accent.
I told
It's
them
fun.
before we recorded, it's the coolest accent in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know,
I
actually,
think British is a close second, then New York.
I was just
Uh,
thinking about Australia
I like South
again
Africa's
because we were talking
accent.
about
That's a second behind Australia and Kiwi.
Which
Kiwi's
one?
so Aussie Kiwi kind of meld together to me. I can never tell them apart.
Yeah, but that's like
But I
Canadian and
absolutely-
American to everyone else.
Eh?
A
Um,
boot. Big.
but I can always tell a South African.
I think the South African accent.
That's
is
my
the
number 2
sexiest
behind the Aussie.
accent.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Isn't it crazy?
It's
You could
probably
be
all
like
the
a
impression.
5. The minute you've got this cute accent, you become a 10. Like,
Right.
it's crazy.
So I wonder if I went from a 5 to a 10.
I don't know.
You just got to go to a different country and they'll
That's
think
what it
you're
is.
like a 10.
My,
Yeah.
my buddy
There you
Paul
go.
Geis, who hopefully he's watching, he's married to a very wonderful, beautiful Brazilian woman named Patty. And he used to travel. He has 7 languages that he's fluent in, all because he just loves not only culture, he's a great chef, he's a really great cocktail and wine guy, he's a som, and he also likes women quite a lot. And so he went to where the pretty ladies were. He learned their language
Clever
and lived there for
man.
years and teach English and work in restaurants. And like he's
Good on him.
44. Yeah.
Killing it.
Because not only did he discover those things I just said, but he also discovered when he went there, whatever his accent is, when he's speaking Portuguese in Brazil,
Mhm.
the women were like, Ooh, just like
Yeah.
you said, like
Very
he
different.
went from cute to bam.
Yeah, 100%. Take me now.
Right away.
I know. You know, I was just thinking about the Outback, how we were talking before
Yeah,
about the
steakhouse.
question. No, just the Outback in general, not the
the
steakhouse.
actual Outback?
Yeah, because I'm curious with the off season.
Yeah.
The Outback.
And you know, it's funny because there's a place in Australia where, I mean, most of us live around the outside of Australia. So you can fit the amount of people that are in California inside Australia, or the whole country. So it's like all this land, the land mass is the same. If you deconstruct America, you can fit it into Australia, but with a fraction of the people.
There's
But-
only 5 metropolitan centers, right?
Yeah, well, essentially, I mean, if you go to the West Coast, there's Perth. That's pretty much it on the West Coast.
Yeah.
One city that you would go to, big city. But on the East Coast, there's, Cairns up the top, which is like this, where it's humid. So everything's the opposite. So it's hot up top. It's
Well,
cold down south.
The mirror image where the equator is.
Exactly. And we even have that little extra bit that comes up the top, which is like the Florida, and that's Cairns at the top. The weather's the same. It's just all the opposite. But yeah, everyone lives around the outside, right? So we all live, near the beach because it's way too hot in the middle of Australia. There's actually one place in the center of Australia where they do some mining where you can live under the ground. It's so hot that they have to live under the ground. There's shops, there's churches, there's everything under the ground.
What is this
Pretty
called?
wild.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it's the place where they mine opals. And it could be Cooper Pedy. I don't know.
Okay.
That reminds me of
Um,
Atlanta. Atlanta's got a little section underground. It's not nice anymore, but it used to be.
Rome
really nice.
has a huge section that's still underground. That's all
If
the
anyone
archaeology.
thinks of this, let us know. Can they let us know?
Yeah, if anybody's
Do we have-
tuning in that knows.
Does anyone know the name of it?
They could chime in, yeah. They could chat in.
The place in Australia where everyone lives underground, if there's any Aussies watching.
If any Aussies are watching, well, you have access to Google.
Yeah, I know. Well, I could
You
Google
have
it. now,
access to YouTube. I'm pretty sure they're some way connected
but Maybe.
somehow.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
really
we deal
cool.
with the public, so you never know who knows what
Yeah.
and who could operate what.
And it is a Saturday. People's brain waves are probably.
There are probably a
call
couple of drinks in.
Saturdays Shatterday.
Why?
'Cause I feel shattered. at the end of a
I
Saturday.
feel shattered. Yeah. Actually, by the
Especially
end of the
after these
week,
drinks.
Well,
Friday is my shatter day.
I don't get weekends.
No, normally I work on Saturdays too, actually, but I'm glad I get to be here with you guys this Saturday.
Well,
Much
we're
easier.
Have to have you, yeah, and you can just let loose and have some drinks.
Yeah.
It's real
If you
strong.
run out, I gave you the big glass because I didn't want you to run out, not because I don't love Joe. I do love Joe, but
Yeah,
I just wanted you to feel.
I love you too.
Thank you.
I have a crush on you, but I think we should still see other people.
Yeah.
That's the story of my life.
Yeah.
I'm used to it by now.
Oh, darling.
I just don't
I need pity. Thank you.
Oh, dear.
Wow, no, this is fun. This is fun. All right, so the Australians, they don't like the Outback.
Not particular. Oh, but no, that's not true. One of my best girlfriends actually has an Instagram page at it. Quit Your Coward. Like
Shout
quit,
out.
Yeah, Quit Your Coward to Holly and Zach Smith, and they take their 4-wheel drive and they go around Australia. So they just got back from going with my other girlfriend Megan and her fiance Liam. 2 couples, 2 4-wheel drives, actually troopies, and they just did Australia for like a month. They just drove around and some of the most beautiful pictures.
That sounds tremendous.
So if you ever actually want to travel Australia and in that way, camping and really seeing rural Australia, make sure you hit up Quit Your Coward and they'll help you out.
Awesome. Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
They are.
I like it.
They are.
I want to do that and start off in the underground caves and things.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Silkworm
Wind
caves
up-
in
I'm
Australia.
dying to
Beautiful.
hold a
Beautiful.
koala bear, I'll be honest with you.
You want to hold a koala?
I'm dying to hold a koala
Don't call it a koala bear. It's not a bear. It's a marsupial, just like a kangaroo. Yeah, Americans think they're bears, but they're not.
bear.
Well, we were always
Yeah.
told
I
that.
like it. Yeah.
I always had a
In
question
our
about
little
that because
books in science class, that's
Yeah.
what they told us. Koala
maybe it's
bears.
just because of the ears.
They look kind of bearish, I guess.
Bear-like, but also like a panda
Yeah.
is in no way resembling a grizzly or a black.
No. It's so funny because Americans are always like, Australia is so scary with the animals. But to me, if I ever saw a bear, I think that's the most scary thing because it's like fast on
I have a
land,
picture in my
powerful.
phone, and it's a meme. And so basically, in the foreground is like the beach is the background here. 2 snakes are intertwined and they're fighting. And in the background, there's a shark that's basically, it's just his head. And a wild dog is eating that.
Hmm.
And it said something about how very typically Australian this is. There's a dog on the beach eating a shark, and 2 snakes are fighting to the death.
I mean,
And that perpetuates what you're talking about.
yeah, but
That way
I
you're
feel like you guys have panthers, you guys have these
Well,
land animals that can attack you. But really, for us, it's just spiders. So like, it's a way of life. Before you go outside and sit on the veranda, you just check underneath your seat. You know, for redback spiders, they're the ones that are really poisonous. You just check, you know, before you sit down, and so it's a way of life. With birds, oh my god. So my mum knows, and she thinks it's the most funny thing. I'm deathly afraid of birds because in Australia, magpies and plovers are the worst. And it was my favorite part about moving to America was there was no birds that were going to attack me. So magpies in the spring, my dad actually has this big like thing on the back of his ear because he got attacked by a magpie, and it swooped down from the trees while he was on his bicycle, and it like made his ear bleed. And I think that half the reason he can't hear properly in that ear is because of that. It got his eardrum.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and that's a magpie. Sometimes those things will just go at you.
They're just black birds.
It's just a black and white
They're
bird. Kind of
black
looks like a
There was
crow,
a cartoon.
but black and
That was
white.
magpie.
So they actually like
They will swoop
that's
you
a
if you go
thing.
under their tree. They've attacked me before too, but I was like 8 and I was wearing a helmet. But if you look at the helmet, there's like all these peck marks at the top. But people, it's so funny. You'll be like
Were you wearing a
driving.
helmet because of the magpie?
No, because I was riding a bicycle.
Oh,
It's mandatory.
How many people's eyes get poked out from this?
Well, people wear fake eyes on their helmets because if it thinks that you're looking at it, it won't attack you as much. And they wear pipe cleaners. You know pipe cleaners?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, they have those all sticking up. It's the funniest thing in spring to watch bicyclists.
I would totally get like I would
That's
actually
like a cat's
3D print
favorite
a
toy.
helmet
And you're
Yeah.
using it
with
for
spikes
self-defense.
sticking out of it.
Yeah.
That is bananas to me.
That's wild.
Yeah, cyclists look funny.
That's Johnny the Man.
So,
But all plovers are my favorite. So there's this one thing that happened to me when I was a kid. I was in a sports group with this woman who was an military, I don't know, sergeant of some description. And she made us train, you know, every week. And this one particular week, there were some plovers nesting in the center of our field that we were meant to be training in. And she said, doesn't matter, it's just going to make you run faster. We're like, what? So she made us, and the plovers are the ones that they lay eggs on the ground, not in the trees. And they have these barbs on the back of their wings, not poisonous as some people think they are, but still
They're
barbs.
defensive.
Yeah, and they
Yeah,
will attack you.
Oh.
They go, caw, 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 and you hear them.
Really?
And then they say it louder, louder. And you know, if you hear them coming, you're fucked. But it's bad.
Oh,
Yeah, it's bad. And they so she just made us run. So I remember like running around this oval, like diving behind things, trying to like avoid being attacked by this plover.
wow.
Yeah.
See, in Brooklyn, we avoid being attacked by crackheads and
I was
rats.
about to say,
Yeah.
in Australia, you might have weird birds.
Crackheads.
So
I don't know what's
in America,
worse.
the biggest hazard is the people.
Crackheads.
Yeah.
Mostly dudes, I find. It's not a lot of
Not
women that are
female
like,
crackheads.
I mean, just to look at them, sometimes you would shriek and like run, but they're not actually going to do you physical harm. Anyway, I digress.
That's too.
So I have a question about in the Pacific, it's not called a hurricane; it's called a typhoon. Is that right?
That's for places, the Asian countries.
Okay.
Australia, I don't think gets typhoons.
Do you
we get cyclones up north.
Okay.
I don't know about
Which would be
hurricanes.
your version
though.
of our south, your tropics.
Yes. Our tropics get cyclones. That's for sure.
Tropical cyclone activity, I believe, is the NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's phrase for any hurricane, typhoon, or anything like that that's a spiral.
Yeah. It's not like a twister, I don't think. It's more just
Twister
like a
is,
hurricane.
we call that a tornado.
Tornado, yeah.
So it's just like
I don't know.
who's
See,
the comedian? Kyle Kinane, who's from Chicago. He has this bit about how tornadoes or twisters are the dickheads of natural disasters.
yeah.
And his point is like, just, a hurricane or an earthquake, a blizzard, it's everybody.
Yeah.
A tornado, maybe just Joe's house.
Yeah, that's true.
How do you not take that personally?
That's true, right? I mean, I've been blessed because in Australia, like where I live in Australia, the worst thing that ever happened was kind of bushfires or we got flooded. It rained a lot and our river rose and broke the banks kind of thing. But like nothing that bad that they couldn't control. But here I feel like Americans get earthquakes. Thank goodness. I don't think anywhere in Australia has had an earthquake. New Zealand got hit really badly.
Yeah.
But we're not on tectonic plates.
You're right in the middle of a huge one.
Yeah. So it means though that they're not going across each other because we're
Right.
just sitting
There's
on
no
one.
subduction.
Yeah. So we're lucky. But unfortunately, New Zealand, they got it really bad.
Well, they're more out on the edge of that plate.
Christchurch, I think.
Pacific plate, yeah.
And I feel like now more than ever in world history, with all these natural disasters that have been happening,
It's scary, isn't it?
it's elevated.
Let's steer that into the hurricane conversation.
Yeah. Well, we just witnessed a Hurricane Dorian.
Category 5.
Category 5, which do
It
happen.
ran the spectrum. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, and now out in the middle of the ocean.
But what the crazy thing about Hurricane Dorian was that it was a stationary hurricane.
Yeah,
Which
for 2 days.
Since in the 19 years,
miles an hour.
19 years
I've never heard of that.
Correct, and I've been living in Florida 19 years, and I've never seen a stationary
It's not a
Category
thing.
5 or a stationary hurricane. Period.
And it was going really fast at the beginning, and then it just stopped.
Yeah, I think
It
the
was,
high
you're right.
speed. The high speed was 13 miles an hour
I think it was up to 17 or 18
Okay, it was.
before it got to
before it got to Cat 5.
before it got to the eastern edge of the Caribbean Islands zone.
Dan Steen.
Well, it sure did. So, an old buddy of mine in Key West is one of the heads of the National Hurricane Center office in Key West, and I used to be on bowling league with him. He explained hurricanes and tropical cyclones to me this way. He said, a hurricane is really just the planet trying to cool itself, trying to give off excessive heat.
I've always wondered what on earth they start from and
check
why.
this out. And I'm going to extrapolate in an interesting, odd way that may or may not be related.
You know so much about everything. I love this.
Why do you think I told him to sit in the co-host chair today?
Right. So
It wasn't just about the drinks.
Yeah, that's a good
I
part.
get invited to parties for that. But
Speaking of.
so when the heat off the Horn of Africa creates a system that's moving westerly toward either the Caribbean, Central or South America, or North America, it's just like anybody just guess where it's going to go. It's coming off the Horn of Africa. They always sound like that.
Yeah.
It's warm air coming out of the desert. And then when it gets over the water, now it can gather heat from essentially the equatorial ocean. So now it's got atmospheric and oceanic heat that are getting together and they're spiraling together.
Mhm.
And they continue to move west because that's the way that just the weather trends are. There's anybody who's watching this, Google Null, N-U-L-L school. I think it's earth.nullschool.net. And it's like a Google Earth where all you're looking at, and you can articulate it and spin it around, is wind patterns on planet Earth in real time.
Yes. What? Someone showed me that this time.
It's cool.
Yeah, this hurricane season.
So if you're ever, even if it's not hurricane season, you just want to see like where the winds are blowing, you can zoom in on it.
So
Like Google
cool.
Earth,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's only global wind and it's satellite based. So it always comes east west, and it heads towards us. What happened with Katrina? What was it 2006 or 8 or something like that? The one that destroyed New Orleans. The thing that happened with that
was
one
pretty bad.
That was
was
awful.
that on its way, like Katrina hit Key West, my hometown, before it went up north to get to Mississippi.
New
and
Orleans has no chance because
They're
it's
still
so
rebuilding
correct.
from that.
Well, they're like so even with sea level.
But there's so much corruption there, and their money from federal grants and blah, blah, blah. That's a whole other chat. But the thing, when it went past Key West and then turned north toward the Gulf Coast up there, it hit not one but two, what they're called warm core rings. And it's basically like a circulating thing that's like 50 or 60 miles in diameter in the water. It's just a circulating eddy. It's not creating like a subduction zone there, but so it hit two of them. And all that did was make it not only gain strength, but diameter as a storm. And so if you take a look at those old pictures of Katrina, it pretty much took up all of the Gulf of Mexico, from the Yucatan to Pensacola, Florida. It took all of that. There was no ocean visible from the sky.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So,
I used to live
Yeah,
there.
actually, I saw
This
the
is just-
satellite space
Of
images. It was
oh my God.
of Katrina.
Oh, for sure.
And I
Yeah.
remember you
That
couldn't
used
see
to have
the
a-
ocean. It was all white.
So
It was
all
just
this
like, wow,
is the
it's
Earth
unbelievable.
gathering heat and what's known as geophysical dynamics. I'm sorry to dork out again. The wind and the water and the pressure. Hurricane is a low pressure system, which is why there's a storm surge, because the air isn't pushing down. Therefore, the water can push back up as the Earth spins, and that's a storm surge. So the water's pushing up, and you're going to have higher tides. You're going to have not only that, but now the sort of elevated water is subject to the horizontal lateral air, shoving it into land, and it's just a nightmare. But it's the Earth trying to give off excessive heat. And I'm going to take a quick aside. Have you ever noticed that a hurricane, which is just like a galaxy? What's a galaxy? It's a big spiral of
Yeah,
stars.
I guess so. Yeah, that's true.
There's just little wads of heat in a giant space of area, giant piece of space. I don't know that there's a correlation there. I've never heard a scientist claim it. And just they look the same. They're twisting in the same direction.
Everything's related.
We're all tied together here, man.
The same minerals found in our bodies or in the land.
They
Everything's
came out of an
related.
exploding star. Anyway, so whenever the planet continues to get hotter, I'm kind of sick of people trying to deny climate change because there's too much science behind it now.
Yeah.
A dozen years ago or more, I heard some politician who was being on TV debating with a climate scientist, and the climate scientist was like, "What do you want to do? What if I'm right?" And the guy goes, "Let's just wait and see."
Well, by then it's too
guess
late,
what?
isn't it?
Now Dorian is sitting for 48 hours not moving with 185 mile per hour sustained winds. We have waited, and now we have seen it.
Well, the thing with hurricanes is that, and living in Florida for quite some time, you just learn it because you have to adapt, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, with hurricanes, when you know they're coming, you have to prepare. It's better to be overprepared than underprepared.
Which is nice that we can do that. When it
have
comes
the
to a
ability
bushfire,
do
you
that.
can't
We have the
prepare.
technology. We can do these
You know
things,
about
right?
the hurricanes in the early 20th century? They would just show up and
They
nobody
would
knew.
just show
and
up and nobody knew about it.
bombed.
That's
It's
it.
like the
But now
Chicago
we've got the
fire,
technology.
the London fire.
We are very, very grateful and thankful, and obviously
God for science,
lucky
man.
to have all this data and information. But you've been here since 2016, so the only hurricanes you've really experienced, which weren't hurricanes, were Matthew, and this one right here, and nothing. We didn't see any damage. From
Yeah,
Matthew.
true. Irma was bad.
Irma was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So
I wrote down.
the thing is, you prepare, and then you pray for the best.
Yeah.
That's all you could do.
Yeah.
Right? And then you deal with the repercussions afterwards. That's all you could do with hurricanes.
People were angry. Oh, it didn't hit us. They said it was going to hit. Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding?
Did you see it? The outer bands were hitting us, and it was so close.
We were
Very
lucky.
uncomfortably close to us.
We were very
It's
lucky.
like a bullet was in by your head.
Literally. It was.
Yeah.
And the people that I shake my head at the people that would tell me, "Oh man, I wish it would have hit. I did all this preparation." No, you don't wish.
No,
that.
we were lucky as well that
You
we were
don't
in a
wish. You
unique
have
position where we could give to the Bahamas everything that we had and didn't
They are
use.
directly to Jason. Like you're absolutely right. The fact that we dodged it, but only so barely
Barely by the
dodge
skin of our teeth.
it, that the people who got the worst of it are 80 miles away from us.
We can
From
give it to
where
them.
we are
We
right
can
now.
ride over there on a boat and give it to them.
Yeah, like
Although,
you guys
don't
can't
do
see
that
this,
because
but
you'll get
just
who attacks, but still.
You're right at the camera. There's a rolling
Should've just
stack of
given it to
supplies
us.
that people are donating here. And what'd you say? How many trucks were filled up?
Like over 20. Yeah.
Amazing.
20 utes.
No, not utes. They're little baby cars. Utility vehicle. Look up utes. Australian utes, like a Ford ute. You should look it up. You've got the phone there.
Is it a like?
You got your light on.
Whoa.
I'm a bright guy.
Yeah. I've seen some crazy hurricanes that hit Florida. Francis was one of them, 2005.
Okay.
We got hit with Hurricane Francis, and that was a 10-mile-an-hour hurricane. That was a Category 3, but it was going at 10 miles an hour, just slow.
Just sitting
Not
over you guys.
stationary like Dorian was, but slow enough where it could cause a lot of damage on land. And Palm Beach County was actually in the eye of the storm, so I actually got to experience everything. So it was the hard hit, and then the quiet. So we actually all
And you
went
got
outside, all
both
the
ends.
neighbors, and we're all outside
Were you in
during
the
the
eye?
eye. Yeah, we were in the eye.
Oh,
And
wow.
then, like about 30 minutes later, the wind started to pick up, and we're like, all right, time to go back in.
That's so
And everybody
crazy.
hunkered down, and we stayed in, but there was a lot of damage in there. But I will tell you one thing about Francis. Funny story. So Florida's big on hurricane parties, right?
Mhm.
And when Francis hit, I must have been about 20 years old.
Oh, it's perfect then.
The 20-year-old
Mm.
version of me was much different than the 36-year-old version of me. But, it was bottles and booze and games and fun and
Bottles
this
and
and
cans,
that.
just
And
pop
we were just
cans.
bottles
I have
and
yet to
cans.
go to one of those because in radio, if you're in a hurricane situation, you actually need to be staying at the station so you can give updates. I was prepared. I had the key to my friend's office. I had my blow up, bed ready, and we were all going to just hunker down in the station and do shifts. Go to sleep, wake
Wow.
up, be on air, go to sleep, wake up, do the whole
Now, will they let you drink booze? At least
Oh,
I feel a little-
100%.
All right. That's
Hurricane
what I
Wish
need
it
to
would've-
hear.
party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hurricane supplies.
Yes, hurricane
Don't make sure you
supply
leave
is
with a hurricane
important.
supply.
Okay.
Hey, well, I'm thinking about it. Are we giving something away?
We are actually. Thank you for reminding me. We're giving away a bottle of Black Girl Rum.
Ooh, so what do they have to do to win it?
Well, it's a
You wanna do the
random.
vodka? Let's do the vodka.
You want to do vodka? Let's get
Well, it
this
is my
vodka.
favorite drink. Vodka's my favorite.
All right,
So
we're gonna switch
for
it
that
up.
reason, I'm gonna go grab some stuff.
Yay!
Deal.
Why don't we do two?
You want to do two?
What do they have
He's
to do?
getting
to win?
crazy.
You're the boss. No, not you're the host. What do they have to
no,
do?
It's a random raffle for
This
all
is
my
so good.
subscribers, people that are
Got it.
subscribed to
Okay,
the channel. So, all right, so we'll do two. We'll do two separate raffles. Deal. 2 people are going to win now. 2, not 1. But
That's
2.
cool. That's what happens when I come. I bring the booze, apparently.
You brought the party.
I inspire
We brought the party from down under. That's what you did.
We get crazy down under.
I love it. I'm dying to go. I would love to go. Now, like the like wild animals, like kangaroos and marsupials.
Mhm.
I just want to make sure I'm right. I'm going to make sure I'm right.
Yeah.
But are they roaming around while you're doing your thing?
Oh, absolutely. So where my
That's so
parents
cool.
live, it's a little estate, like a residential estate. And when my friends come, I've brought some friends from America over, and they're just astounded that you just be walking around. We go for a walk and watch the sunset. At the sunset, the kangaroos are generally having a little bit of a eat. They're just eating the grass. And you just
They don't
walk
bother
up and they're there. The last time I went, there was a kangaroo sitting up against a tree. He was huge. He had his legs just sprawled out, leaning up against a tree, sitting down.
That's hilarious.
I've never seen one like that. He was just living his best life,
That's awesome.
just chilling out.
So is it weird, like when you come to the States and you go to like, have you been to the zoo yet?
I have. I've been to a zoo
Okay.
here. Yeah.
Is it odd
It's
to
kind
see
of similar.
kangaroos? Like,
Oh, weird to see kangaroos in a zoo. Although, if you go to Australia Zoo, which Steve Irwin,
yes,
it was his zoo. They still have kangaroos. You can go in and feed them as
Oh,
well.
wow.
Because when people come to Australia, they want to experience kangaroos as well. So,
So it's really more for the outsiders coming in more than so.
I mean, so actually, I have a funny kangaroo story. So I was like, this is my first encounter with a kangaroo. my first encounter with a kangaroo, I was probably 9 or 10 with one of my girlfriends, Jenny Deadman at the time. Hi, Jenny. And she was
Shout out.
from England, and she had just moved to Australia. And we were playing with our Cabbage Patch Kids. We were talking earlier about Cabbage Patch Kids. I was about 9
All right.
And we were at the top of our cul-de-sac. It was a big hill, super steep hill. And we're at the top just playing with our baby dolls and our prams and the fake milk and all of that. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden this giant red male kangaroo comes out of the bushes and stands there and looks at us, and he's huge. And those things you don't want to really mess with because they can, like, I've heard that they can disembowel you. Like, they can really, not that I think it would have, it was probably more afraid of us, but anyway, we freaked out. She goes, my brother, like in an English accent, said that these things can kill you. And we're like, oh my God. So we go running down the hill. There's fake milk flying everywhere. The prams are going down. We're screaming. And this thing was kind of chasing us, but just like hopping down the hill, like, what's going on, guys? And that was my first encounter with a kangaroo.
Wow.
Right? I want some
Yeah.
fake milk.
Hey, you got to feed my Joey.
Yeah.
What are you doing over there?
But then people are crazy in Australia. So I used to live on this land, right, where we had these like horses and stuff. And it was 2 houses that were split on a giant plot of land. And my next door neighbor was Joe Rose. Older man, really like salt of the earth kind of guy. And I was sick one day, so I stayed at home, and I noticed that I was walking down the hallway and there was a belt kind of on the side of the hallway. But it wasn't a belt because the belt started moving. It was a snake. And the snake was literally where you are to me right now. And I freaked out, ran down the hallway and called John Rose. And he was across the road, and he just said, let me come over and grab it. So I thought he'd come over with one of those big sticks with the thing. No, he just kneels down, grabs it by the head and goes, you want to see? I was like, no. He goes, I'll let him go in my back garden. That was it. Yeah, we had a koala climbing up our driveway once too, and my dad one time was just like playing with a snake, taunting it, playing with the back of his tail. Like, I feel like people in Australia are so used to
Maybe
wildlife.
that's why Steve Irwin was so astounding to Americans.
Yeah, you know what?
He was not afraid. He just snatched it up and go.
He's the epitome of that, though.
Well,
not all
for sure,
Australians
and
are like
his
that.
son is that.
His son is
His son
beautiful,
is a really cool cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he kind of followed in his father.
Yeah,
He is an absolute clone, and I mean visually, personality-wise.
And so
I
is
don't know,
Bindi.
Bindi is that personality, but
Not look-wise. Doesn't
no,
look like
she's
she looks like a
gorgeous
mum.
human being.
Yeah.
One of our listeners said that a Holden Malou is a you.
A Holden and Ford. So generally in Australia, you're either like Holden or you're
And by the
Ford.
way, I looked it up on my phone. It's not going to work for me to hold my phone. It looks like an El Camino. It's like a car.
It's a car.
truck
It looks like a
hybrid.
sedan with a tray on the
with
back.
a
It's
bed,
been
yeah.
cut off halfway.
Right.
Yeah,
It's an El Camino, yeah.
And like all the
Some
cool
of them look
dudes
kind of nifty.
by like 16, like your boyfriend doesn't have a ute. He's like not even cool.
Well, in Australia,
Yeah.
I bet I know what to use the back of that for. If you're cool boyfriend. That's where you
Oh yeah, but that's what you do. Yes,
Exactly.
that's what you do. You go to the drive-in movie theater with a mattress in the back, and you all hang out in the back, or just the two of you. And...
There you go. Little snuggle fest.
Mhm.
Here's the fucking into you.
That's right. You take it to your parties. We used to have the best parties in Australia too, because you have a bonfire and everyone brings their ute, and sometimes they'd stick like a swag in the back or whatever. And
It's a swag.
a swag is like a big sleeping bag with a top.
Oh,
So
like
we
a
call
tent.
swag. Swag is
Yeah, like a
different
tent
in the
sleeping
United
It's
bag.
a very hybrid.
Swag is different.
Swag for us.
You got swag, you got
swag
swagger.
is actually an acronym.
Couple of
It stands for shit we all get. Meaning, like, if you go to
Really?
yeah, so if you go to a basketball game and they're throwing T-shirts into the stands,
Swag.
that's swag. That's
No
shit
way.
we all
I
get.
didn't know that.
Yeah, it's free shit.
You know, it's so crazy
Yeah.
because in Australia, we don't have a lot of Australian TV. So Neighbours and maybe Kath and Kim are the two Australian TV
Don't forget
shows
The
that
Biggest
people would
Loser.
see. And The Biggest Loser, but that's from America.
I know, but I mean, my friend, I'm trying to
Yeah, true. But like,
Shout out.
I feel like
turn on in.
Australians are so used to having American culture infused in their lives from such a young age because Hollywood is everywhere.
Right.
But Americans don't have that of Australia. So I feel like that's where the fascination is. But for Australia, for me, I just feel like this was very natural to me because I came here. I knew the accent was familiar. Everything
The
was
language is
familiar.
identical. The accent is charming.
Yeah.
Right.
That's my take.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is. I mean, you know, coming from
A different
coming
culture
from
is
New York,
appealing on its own.
coming from Brooklyn, New York,
But when you
moving to
can-
Florida, you know, obviously I stand out because of my accent,
Yeah.
right?
That's not the only reason.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Whatever.
But why? That's how I.
I got a New York guy. I got to bust his balls.
But I think it's so cool hearing the different accents, right?
Oh my
There's
God.
some undesirable accents, and there's some. I think for me personally, and I hope nobody takes this the wrong way, but I'm not really attracted to women with New York accents because they sound like me.
I was just thinking while you were saying that, before you got to the point,
Interesting you said
I was
that.
thinking, how the fuck did Fran Drescher get a TV show?
Oh my God, I love that. I love
That's
that.
exactly why.
I don't hope ill upon her, but I hope I never have to hear that again.
Oh, I used to watch that so much. I love that show.
You
Love
know,
it.
I
my
have friends
parents
from
got
New
a
York
dog
City.
when I was a kid. I was 12.
Oh my
years old.
God,
I got
say
a
dog
Pomeranian
again.
Dog.
Dog.
It's two syllables from New York.
I love it.
Dog.
Dog.
Coffee, I'm going
Yeah.
for a walk.
Coffee.
Hey, I'm walking here. Do I sound like it?
You know,
Gonna eat a
You're
coffee.
you know what's funny? Australian actors and actresses can do a really good New York accent.
Actually, that's the easiest one.
Russell-
No,
Russell
Margot
Crowe's
Robbie
Australian, right?
in Wolf of Wall Street, she said she asked if she could have that accent because it was so much easier for her to do than any other kind of,
Yeah.
like a Valley Girl, accent.
Right. She was
California.
the. Hold on. She was the. No, I know. But what do they call her? The.
Wolf?
Yeah.
I only saw
The something. The. God damn it.
Someone's going to tell
The
us.
something
surely.
of Bay Ridge. What do they call the Leonardo
Margot
DiCaprio's
Robbie.
wife?
Yeah.
In
That
Wolf of
is
Wall Street. She
just-
was something. The Duchess of Bay Ridge. That's what
Duchess?
they call
Okay.
us, the Duchess of Bay Ridge.
She's
yeah.
so beautiful. You know, she
Yeah.
started on one of the only two, essentially TV shows we have in Australia. She was on Neighbours.
No kind of.
Yeah, and then
So what is
she moved-
Neighbours?
Chelsea?
Neighbours? Yeah.
Neighbours,
Yeah.
like your next door neighbor.
Yeah,
kind of.
sure.
Neighbours, yeah. It's just
Yeah.
like and Home and Away. We have Neighbours and Home and Away are two
old is
exports. She would be just a bit older than me. I think she's like 30 or a bit older, just
She got a little
young
lucky.
30s. She got lucky.
Beautiful and
She got
talented
lucky.
and all of the above.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But her first movie was like that. That was her big first movie. So
That's
no.
pretty cool.
She went from Neighbours to
I
that.
know Wolf of Wall Street. That's a pretty awesome movie. To be the
Scorsese.
first-
Yeah.
and
I
Leonardo
love her.
DiCaprio, which,
and-
by the way, wasn't.
Let's not forget the sex symbol that is Jonah Hill.
He actually just got engaged, didn't he?
Well, everybody
I don't
gets to
know,
have
do
sex
tell,
if
do
you
tell.
long enough.
That's true. How old is he now?
All
Have to
right.
wait a while.
I don't know. Like, how much does he weigh? Like, usually
He lost a lot of weight. I don't know
And then
if
he gained it. And then
I
lost
feel
it.
like he
and
went
gained
vegan and he got super thin.
Really?
Yeah.
I've experimented with
Some people
veganism.
don't
I'm
look
a
that
bit
thin.
vegan.
I am.
Some people-
My girlfriends say that. Oh, that's true.
It is
Some of my girlfriends call me a vegan with seafood tendencies because I guess that's what I am. I don't have dairy
Pescatarian.
or but I don't eat dairy or eggs generally. You
No
know.
meat at all.
I've had
No, but seafood. I eat seafood.
so
Yeah.
Okay. Seafood's
I
good.
know.
Wow.
Oh, it's so
Seafood's
good.
I'm
What's your
I
favorite
wish-
seafood to eat?
Oysters and champagne is what I have with my mother.
Do you know what you need to do with your oysters? Vodka. Vodka
What?
will emulsify
Oh, wait.
the fat
We've
in
been-
Oh,
oysters.
you gave us shots?
We've been
Well,
sitting here
just
with.
tasting samples. This is my steel tie vodka.
Oh, is this the one we're giving away?
Well, this is, but I also want you to sample it if you're a vodka girl.
I'm a vodka
I
girl.
want everybody out there to get your totally
Untainted.
Yeah, and if you don't love it, please say that you don't love it.
Okay, well, it's
Except
vodka,
please don't
so
say you
it's
don't love it.
unlikely.
You know what happens to people in those things over there?
That's all the people who don't like the vodka.
So here's the thing about this vodka. I gotta do a little work here. In America, people have gotten used to seeing a label that says a high number of distillations on their vodka.
Okay.
Tito's is 7
Tito's
times.
is
There
what
are
I
a couple
drink.
of those platinum
Grey Goose is my
Western
favorite.
Sun that are 10 times distilled. People think a high number of distillations is good, but all it does.
Dana Shaw says smoothest vodka ever.
Thank you, Dana Shaw.
Aww.
So, and then we're gonna get her opinion on this, but it's only twice distilled because that's how many times Russian distillers and Polish distillers do it.
Okay.
The only time they think it should ever go through a still a third time is if you're gonna use that vodka to make gin.
Okay.
Make gin, because you would put it back through a third time with the botanicals in the basket.
So it's not necessarily smoother if it's been distilled more times.
What it tells me, if I see a whole bunch of distillations on a label, is that at the very least, you're not going to taste the grains that it came from. And at the very worst, they started off with cheap, crappy grains that had like pesticides and chemicals all over.
Oh my God, yeah.
So they had to distill it a lot of times to get those offensive odors and flavors out.
Tell me what you think of organic vodka, because I love organic. I love healthy anything.
I buy all organic.
Okay. So the grains haven't been sprayed as
So
much.
that's correct. The grains that we use come from Midwestern American farms. We do have Florida farmers that we will be using for our vodka going forward, but they haven't had their first harvest yet. And as a company, we just needed to get to market with the vodka. So these are American grains from Midwestern farms, no pesticides, no GMOs, no bad treatment. I don't have $500,000 to get the government to give me an organic stamp, which, by the way, is how much it can cost to just use one word, which should be free in the English language.
Completely.
But it's not.
That's really sad.
Right. So I can't but also I don't know enough about those grains. But what I do know, pesticide-free, non-GMO grains.
But the non-GMO, I mean, I'm really into health-conscious stuff.
For sure.
But
there are good kinds of GMO.
non-GMO, what do you think of that?
I think it depends on the motive. So let me tell you this. My friends very nearby at a company, a charity, nonprofit, let me call it that, called Reef Institute. Look them up. They actually are the charity that we're working with to do our tiki, full moon tiki party a week from today.
I'm obsessed with the full moon. Oh
so
my God.
come to this party. So it benefits Reef Institute. And these guys are, so my friend Charlie Gregory is the head of this institute, and they have federal grants. What they do is the right kind of GMO. They take the robust, and Charlie, forgive me if I'm effing this up. I'll let people interact with you and you can clean up my message.
Oh, he said effing.
I'm talking about the ocean. I'm
I
trying
thought it was
a
rated
giveaway
G
right
for a second there.
Well,
You told him it was G. He takes it seriously.
So G. So Charlie takes, among his many great things that he does, he is an oceanic veterinarian. He will take
I
the
always
good.
wanted to be one of those.
I never knew that
My whole
existed,
life.
and I've been a Key West dive master.
I admire people that do stuff like
So
that.
he knows how,
love
or
it.
his labs know how to take the good parts of DNA from robust coral species, graft that onto, in some meaningful way, the more weak coral species that are why the reefs are dying, and to strengthen our reefs by grafting those new hybrid GMO coral species into the reef systems all around.
But you're not eating that. So there's
No.
a difference.
Well, but it feeds the ocean. That feeds all the, it is the ecosystem that we pull our oysters and our shrimp and our fish.
I do worry about seafood these days, though. Like the example of the
sure.
high mercury. There were some kids in California in university being,
Be careful with that.
100%,
Right, of
because
course.
they've got antibiotics and all that
But
going through.
my point is that there is good GMO. There are
Right.
good things you can do with genetic splicing or whatever the language is. I'm not educated on that. Look up Reef Institute, guys.
Modified
Organisms.
Organisms.
Is there a genetically modified organism? That's good GMO.
Genetically modified. Would that
orgasm.
just be a vibrator? I don't know.
It's genetically modified or like electronically modified.
Electronically
That's an
modified.
emo.
electronically modified?
Genetically modified. Don't know
That
if
sucks
that's a
because
thing.
emo's already a thing. Fuck.
Yeah, emo is alright.
Anyway, let's try this vodka and see what you think.
Yeah.
I went way off.
We
on that.
did really go off topic. didn't
That's the
we?
great thing about this podcast.
We ended up at
I have a
vibrators.
producer in my ear saying, "Hey, get back on the."
Shut John up for a second. Let the poor girl enjoy her. Yeah, shut up, John.
Cheers.
Cheers. So smell it before you
Cheers,
sip it.
big
Tell me
ears.
if you
Oh,
don't-
wait, Riz. Cheers, big ears. And you got to say same goes, big nose.
Same goes, big nose.
There you go.
All right.
Now you're
Smell it
Australian.
first and tell me if you don't get like a little vanilla or fruit sweetness. There's nothing added.
It does smell kind of vanilla-y.
Oh, yeah. So
It's gonna be
there's
smooth.
there's 10% of this mash bill is white corn. There's some sweetness and roundness to corn, which is why bourbon, which is made out of corn, is so much a sweeter whiskey. So there's a little bit of that in there. There's 20% rye, and there's what's the name?
Alex said right now you guys are at a category 2.
Here's a cat 3, Alex.
Salute.
Okay. All right.
Roll it over your whole tongue. Tell me about mouthfeel. Tell me about flavor. Tell me about smoothness.
Wow. It tastes different from the top, from the tip to the back, obviously, because you've got different receptions and stuff. But
Sure.
I really enjoyed that.
As a straight vodka, have you had anything that compares?
Normally, the facial expression would be,
You would breathe a little heat. It's not burning your throat, right?
no,
There's
it
not,
feels
like, booziness
warm
up
and
there?
smooth and spicy,
Smooth.
Here's the reason why.
but with a hint of vanilla. It's weird.
So I got
You could
the
shot
chance
that
to-
so easily. You could shot that bigger.
And that's neat, by the way.
We
That's not
created
even
this
chilled.
way.
No.
Which
We
usually
approached
for
it.
me chilled. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but as room temperature, yeah, we didn't chill that.
That's
Did not come out of
beautiful.
ice.
Beautiful.
And if you're somebody who loves to keep vodka in the freezer,
I am.
which by the way smooths it out, it takes a lot of the harsh out of it.
Mhm.
Out of it.
Mhm.
That's
I'm
why
a-
people do
I'm
that.
a tequila in the freezer and vodka in the freezer guy.
I love a frozen shot glass. You just keep it in the
there you
freezer.
go.
Yeah.
If you walked into my house, you would be like, "What fresh heaven is this?"
You know what? My
freezer,
roommate,
my bar,
my new apartment, like roommate, whatever. Her dad, actually like supplies Publix with alcohol. So we've had a couple of crates delivered at our place. So we need to buy a bar because we just have wine all over the
Why
place.
don't you just? Well, I see what you mean for your house.
Mm.
Go to like IKEA and get a piece of furniture for it.
Yeah.
Dude, you have never been to my house. Dude,
Never invited me over.
Well, you're invited.
Very
We're both
offended.
invited. Whenever we're
Oh,
done,
right.
we'll fucking go.
You know
I'm
what?
not
There's
offended.
lots of resveratrol in red wine, so we're just being healthy. That's all it is. Cancer fighting.
This is. See, you think I
I'm a
geek
big
out? You
red
geek
wine.
out too.
I do.
fan.
I'm a big food
I'm a fan.
geek. I love food. I'm actually thinking of making my own
So
podcast
do you
about
like
food.
to
Whenever-
pair food and wine together?
I mean, yes, but I'm more interested
I
in the
tell you a
ingredients and things. And
Okay.
You need to look up a book called "What to Drink with What You Eat."
okay,
It is all about the gastronomy of pairing food and beverage together. Mostly, it's sommelier talking about wine interaction.
I'd love to go to a winery where they teach you that. You know, I know about the wine having legs, and you
Yes.
have seen
Let
the
me
legs
roll it
on
around.
it. Yeah,
Let me
yeah.
tell you
More
this.
legs, the better.
Yeah, well,
Right here in
sweet.
this room, we teach a cocktail class where you learn a fair amount about not only why ingredients interact
Who
well, but
teaches the class?
there's some dude. Fucking yo-yo.
I'd go to that. This is bloody good.
I mean, I've got one going on Friday night. You can be our guest.
Hmm.
There you go.
Maybe I should.
Yeah.
You want to come?
There it is. Sure.
The two of you, you're
would-
coming.
I would
Friday
love to
night,
be
8
a
o'clock
guest
right
of honor at the
8 o'clock right here.
Perfect.
Done.
Count me in.
Do we get to drink the cocktails after you make them?
Okay.
Okay.
Put on
I mean,
a
that's a
show
win.
and tell. Yeah.
That's a win.
This is what you could have.
This would
Psych.
be, if I did it that way, it would be liquid blue balls.
Yes.
Horrible. What kind of a
I love that expression. That's
My
great.
gift to you.
Liquid blue balls. I'm going to use that.
I like that. So we've learned some new expressions today. Utes, liquid blue balls.
Well, a new use for the ute.
Could you make me, yes, could you make me a new kind of cider?
Yes.
Because I am a cider girl, because obviously it's being celiac, I can't drink beer, which makes me so sad because I love beer. But cider is my closest
There you
thing,
go.
a
Do
dry
you know-
cider.
Which cider do you drink right now?
Strongbow, or actually I just bought a case of the
Angry
Celatois has
Orchard?
created. Angry Orchard
Yes,
is
that
good.
was a secret.
Yeah, I like that's
Um,
drier. Angry Orchard is quite
It
sweet.
is, and you're absolutely right about that. So, do you know what
Quarterlick,
happens?
have you ever had Recorderlick?
I have.
That's extremely
That's
sweet.
Swedish.
Swedish
It's
and
always got all the
beautiful.
fruits in there.
Yes, it's beautiful. I could have one or two,
Do
but
you know there are two words for what you call it when you take cider and put it through a still? You take wine. We talked about this before we got in there. Take wine and put it through the still. You remove the water. Now it's called brandy. Wine in the still is called brandy. If you take beer and put it through the still, you would never use hops if you knew you were going to put it through the still. But it's now called whiskey because they're both from grains.
Because I just love whiskey.
If you take cider and put it through the still, it's called Applejack. In
What's
America,
that?
Applejack is
It's
distilled cider. No. And that, yes, it is that. But there's no booze, hopefully, in your kid's cereal with too much sugar.
that'd be awkward.
The French call
My
it
dad just put espresso shots in the milk of my cereal.
just to make sure you didn't
Because
fall
Nonna
asleep in
used to do that
class.
to him. No, Nonna did that to him, so that's what he did to us.
Why?
Espresso, so it's like
How old
coffee.
give the kid more energy?
I don't know.
I would tell you what my
That's
dad
what I
did.
did.
It's crazy. That's like saying, here's a bunch of chocolate. Go, have fun.
Chocolate, and then
No,
there's your
espresso
coffee.
is very different from when I was 6 months old. I was born and raised in Key West, and there was this Cuban coffee window. I don't know if you guys know much about Cuban espresso, but
Yeah,
it
I found
is
out the hard way.
liquid
once about
freaking
Cuban
crack.
coffee. Yes, it is.
Well, I was brought up on Italian espresso, so Cuban coffee is very similar.
For sure. So
Do you
my
guys
dad
do the
used to like dip
Sambuca
a
and
pinky
stuff,
and
like
give
the
it to
Italian
me.
stuff?
I've had Sambuca. Yeah, my dad used to have like a little bar thing where it would pour
So
out.
you
and
put the coffee beans into the Sambuca?
So what's your De Vita, the last name? Is that
Italian
It is
from
Italian.
Naples.
From Naples.
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. My family still live there. So my
That's
family.
Yeah, fellow Italian, right?
Yeah, my dad's Italian, but I was born here. I think his brothers were born in Australia. Sorry, here. I mean Australia. I was born here. I'm in Australia right now.
We're
Still in
cousins.
Australia.
That's what these drinks will do to you.
They make you think it's
I'm
somewhere
in
you're not.
Zimbabwe right now. Like, really,
I'm on an island somewhere sipping a cocktail.
it would be a very different situation for Zimbabwe.
Hmm
Very true. Imagine Zimbabwe just still living there.
But my nonna came over to Australia from Naples.
That's really cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
because De Vita, right away, I thought Italian.
Yeah.
Right away. I didn't know.
They lived actually close to each other in the town, but didn't ever meet each other until they came to Australia.
Isn't that amazing?
Isn't it?
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
I
awesome.
know.
So when you said your dad was into espresso,
Oh, yeah.
I said Sambuca, I was like,
Yeah, De Vita's
all right,
Italian.
She's definitely Italian.
It means
There's no
of
question about
life, and hence live in De Vita Loga.
it. I like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So my last name is Mignon, American. The Italian way is Mignone.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mignone is cute.
I had the boringest
Cute?
fucking name.
Cute.
Really?
Cute.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're so cute.
Thank you.
And you're so full of life.
Literally, I'm so full
That's
of
funny.
life. You're so
And
cute.
he- and
And
he's
my last
just
name is Moore, so
the
I'm just
more the
like,
merrier.
The more alcohol, the better.
Let me
The more.
So fucking boring. John Moore. And what's worse is that I'm the fourth. My father was the third. I'm in a row. No originality in my family.
Wow. Or at least you're not Smith. Sorry, Zach and Holly.
Well, but I mean, John Smith. Yeah, I mean, it's
You could be John
I
Smith.
know
Joe
which ones.
Smith. Joe Smith. That's his. I call him generic Joe. That's his generic.
pretty
as it
generic.
gets.
John Doe.
John Doe. Imagine,
That's
I've
what
never
they
met
call-
If your
anyone.
last name is Doe and you're naming your kid John and Jane, you got fucking problems.
Well, my middle name's Jane. My mom is Jane. Plain
But
Jane.
your last name is not Doe.
Doe.
But also,
Nice.
your name has a music to it.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
My mom was so grateful when she got to marry my father because her last name is Blackadder.
Black Hatter?
Blackadder, like the snake.
Black Hatter like the snake.
Like the snake.
Oh, but
But-
switched into one word.
Did you also know that
Jane
there was
Black
a
Hatter?
Mr. Bean? You know Mr. Bean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, of
He was on a
course.
show
I
called
loved
Blackadders.
Mr. Bean when I was a
Yeah,
kid. I used to-
Yeah, and
It's
actually
a comedy troupe.
the Blackadders, yeah. And the Blackadders, though, it's based on, like the castles and all of that
For sure.
in the UK and whatever. But she actually does come from a long line of
Jane
almost
Blackadder.
Viking-esque people
Really? I think
who
that's
raped and
awesome.
pillaged and they were crazy,
Oh,
But she was so happy to move to the De Vita
I'm
side.
sure.
So much nicer.
Jane
Yeah, so
Black
much-
Hatter DeVita.
Jane Blackadder, that's what
What
she
if she
was.
would have hyphenated?
Oh, God, I'm so glad she didn't. Thank you, Mum, for never hyphenating anything in my name.
I'm so proud of my Blackadder heritage. I must
Oh.
conjoin.
Actually, there's I don't know why I thought of this, but there's actually a children's book series called Naughty Amelia Jane, and so
I
they
just
bought
bought a
me
book.
all of those
What was
because
this
that's what I
book?
am. I'm Amelia Jane.
I must have been drunk and I saw it online somewhere, and I bought a book called "My Mommy Doesn't Do Well with Alcohol" or something like that.
Really?
My mom
That's
doesn't do
amazing.
It's something like that.
Holy
It's
shit.
like basically it's a guide to how to help your little kid if the mom is
Drinking too much
Yeah,
Mommy,
Thai
school
spirits.
drop off.
Mommy Blackadder DeVita. Instead of some shit, there's a book.
She likes Scotch. My mummy.
God bless her.
Scotch and
bless
dry.
And she smells like a pack of Marlboro Red.
Dry is ginger ale.
Oh, her.
You guys don't call it ginger ale dry?
We just call it ginger ale.
Oh, okay.
Ginger ale. But you
Scotch
just
and
call it
dry.
dry.
You'd order a Scotch and
I
dry.
have a friend
Yeah.
in
Really?
Georgia who likes to
Love
drink
this.
Crown and ginger ale, but
Crown
when he
and
gets
ginger.
but hold on, he abbreviates it even more when he gets good and drunk. He'll go to the bar and order Crown and gin, and they put gin in his Crown, and now he's like a disaster.
That's
Because
gross.
he's leaving out the G.
Because he's
Crown and ginger.
ginger. He means Crown and ginger.
But who's, I don't know, I don't say it like that.
He
Crown and
just
ginger, if I get-
evidently
which I
he's in a
like
hurry.
Crown Royal. Crown Royal is good. But if I'm going to
Some
order
of
it, Crown
not the flavored ones.
Crown is a
No,
beer
no,
in
no.
Australia.
just regular Crown.
Crown Royal is a Canadian whiskey.
Canadian whiskey is
Oh,
Crown
okay.
Royal.
I was
Yeah.
picturing beer with that. And gin.
No.
Gross.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be nasty.
You guys don't have Crown
We have
beer here?
shandies. Like
I don't know if I've never seen Crown
beer.
Royal
I'm not
before.
sure. if it is, Maybe.
No, shandy is something I tried when I was in
Shandy's good.
Shandy's
Germany.
a really cool thing to do. It's refreshing.
I
Shandy's
wish I
good
could
beer.
drink that. Are there any gluten-free beers that you guys know of that are good?
Yes. By the way,
Please
right across the
help me.
parking lot, I will walk you there.
Steam-
Okay.
Steam-
Steam Horse is
Yeah.
part of a family of breweries locally. Their original place is called Tequesta Brewing
Okay.
in cleverly enough, a place called Tequesta, Florida, which is right just north of Jupiter. My very good friend David, who has been a guest on the show, he's right there in the front of the house.
He's
He
another
lives in
proctologist.
He's a brilliant cocktail guy, but he lives in Tequesta. They have a beer called the Chancellor, which is super popular and is distributed, I believe, all around the Southeast. Quietly a gluten-free beer.
I love
And I
that.
will, when we're done, walk you over there and get you one.
Oh
Yeah,
my
we should give
God.
her the tour of the warehouse.
We're gonna.
She's never been.
We're gonna. For
that's
anybody
cool.
who
It's a
has
nice
never been
spot.
down this way, we're in downtown West Palm Beach in the old warehouse district. We're up against the neighborhood over there called Flamingo Park. We're on the corner of Claire and Blanche, which I think we're two of the Golden Girls.
Oh my God, yes, Blanche.
Blanche for sure. I'm not so
I don't
sure
know about Claire, but I know
anyway,
Blanche.
like Elizabeth is
Got
over
one.
there, and I don't know the name of that street. But anyway, this is just the warehouse district, and the Grandview Public Market is right there, and Steam Horse Brewing is right there. And these are the guys who created Tequesta, and they have Twisted Trunk and Jupiter. Brilliant brewers. They make the best
I've
beers.
done lots of
I will
walking
get you a
through.
gluten-free beer.
I would
guarantee
love that. I would love a gluten-free beer that tastes like beer. I've
That's
had
why
some
it's
that
quietly.
taste strange. Like, is
gluten-free.
this trying to be a cider? Is it
Right,
trying to be a
right.
beer? I don't know what this is, but it's not good.
When in a few minutes, and you mentioned give me a better cider. The reason I started to talk about what happens to it when you distill it is because I have some distilled cider
Ooh,
in the front.
okay.
And the next time you need a drink, I will go make you one.
Ooh.
I like it.
I love a cider. You know, yesterday we were doing this Bahamas relief effort, and I am a vodka lime soda girl. That's what I drink. But I had this crazy need for a cider. By the end of the day, I was going, okay, I've got 30 minutes until I can have a cider. We just went across the road to the pub, and I had 3 ciders, and I've never been more happy. I don't know what it is. I'm cider or vodka lime soda.
I
3.
like it. It's both refreshing drinks.
What
so-
about vodka lime cider?
What?
Vodka
That's
lime
getting
cider. I bet
crazy.
that's really good.
I like the way you think. I would try
Yeah,
that.
I think you should hook it up.
I'd be willing to bet you I can.
I think
I would love to see that work.
Can you concoct
That would be a
Some
strong
cocktails,
drink.
do you?
I'd probably have one, and then the proctologist would have me on the floor.
Well, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would have you on a couch.
Okay. Well, that's
Maybe
good.
with a blanket.
Well, maybe-
Oh,
That could be you.
thank you.
That could be you.
That could be you. Gotta have the mattress though, otherwise it's very
That's that
uncomfortable.
mattress,
And you're bordering on criminal.
Almost. As long as you're not doing these ones over my drink, we'll be
I
fine.
want that in my Wikipedia page. All
We
Or
won't
Ozzy
tell
is-
anyone. We won't tell anyone.
Yeah,
But I
it's
gotta know.
already
I gotta
put it
know.
on YouTube.
We've been talking a lot about booze, and I appreciate it.
Mm.
But I want to know, how did that whole relief fund thing that you guys did for 105.9
Yeah,
go?
it went really well.
It did.
Went really well. You know
Yeah.
what? I want to be
20
involved in more.
Bucks.
I've been involved in a lot of cancer events because my mum's a 6 or 7 year survivor of
God
breast
bless her,
cancer.
That's great.
I know, and she's done so well. She went through it. You know, it's awful.
Mhm.
We all did.
May I
Everybody.
ask what kind of cancer?
It was breast cancer. She had a mastectomy, and it was not double,
Okay.
just one. And it was, oh God, I can't remember what stage it was, but it wasn't good. But she managed to fight it.
Amazing.
And
she's 7
she's-
years beyond it now. God
Yes.
bless her.
And she is more healthy than she's ever been, you know?
That's great.
And we're so proud of her. So I try to really help out any way I can because it's, close to my heart. And
Mhm.
let's face it, there's no one who hasn't been touched by cancer in some
Sure.
respect.
My father
I-
had cancer. He had bladder cancer. and
There you
he's,
go.
I have a theory.
I think 15 or 16 years now.
But
cancer.
with everything, the Teflon that's on the bottom of the pan, the things that we're putting on our skin, like what we're eating
Sunblock.
with the sunblock,
Yeah.
chemicals, if it's not organic, it's just unavoidable.
I have a theory.
You know what's cool about cancer? I'm sorry.
What's cool
What's
about cancer?
cool about cancer?
I'm going to tell you.
That it brings the best out of people?
Well, there's a make or break situation for people that have cancer. I witnessed it with my dad.
Like they can choose to fight or not.
Right.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about my dad's he's a big Harley Davidson guy.
Mm-hmm. My dad drives
meet my
Cadivas.
dad. He's got tattoos everywhere. He's like the tougher version of Joe Pesci. Right? He's such a cool guy, right? And I love my dad. I know he's tuning in right now. But the greatest thing my dad ever taught me in my life is when my dad had cancer, the doctor said to him, "You got to do your chemotherapy, and it's going to take like a week for you to kind of feel back to normal."
Mhm.
My dad's like, "Well, when can I go on my motorcycle?
Yeah.
I'm going to be weak and throwing up and all this stuff." And the doctor's like, "Well, you got to come back the following week." So my dad's like, "So it's going to take me that long? I can't go on my motorcycle?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "No." So one day, I'll never forget it. My dad's going through chemo. And I go downstairs in the garage and I see my dad start his motorcycle. I'm like, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing?
Mm.
I'm not supposed to be going on a motorcycle." He goes, "Joe, let me tell you something. don't let anybody in this world ever tell you you can't do something.
Yeah.
If you feel that you could do something,
That's what
do
my
it.
mother's motto is
And
too.
my father got on
She
this
says,
motorcycle.
if it's meant to be, it's up to me.
Yeah, and he took off, and then to even take it to the next level, my dad used to take his motorcycle to chemo.
No.
And then
Now he's rubbing it in their face.
And I was just like,
He's not
This
rubbing it in
man-
their face. He's rubbing it
In Cancer's face.
yes, this man is a bull. He's a bull. And that was the greatest lesson I ever learned in my life was don't let anybody ever tell you, and Dad, I know you're listening to this, and I love you very much. Don't let anybody ever tell you you can't do something. You
Yeah.
feel you could do it, you do it.
Yeah.
So that's, when I say the cool thing about cancer is there's nothing cool about it. But I think that
There's a silver
is a
lining to every
make or
cloud.
break
Yeah.
There's something-
situation.
You got to look at the positives
And
in
we
every
can
really
go
do.
this way with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
hurricane situation too, because we're witnessing with Dorian and what I witnessed 2 years ago. 2 years ago, next week, when I wrote out Irma in Key West, I was dating a woman who at the time was mad at me for not leaving because she had ridden out Hurricane Andrew, which is a Cat 5, when she was in college in Miami, and she said, "You have to leave. It'll change you." She was right, but in a very, I think, positive way. To your point about cancer, brings the best out of people. Man. Look at what's going on. You're just one among a handful of people in one group, and there are all these groups, and all they're doing is rallying.
Yeah.
We are a collection point here at the distillery. This is the Grandview Market is taking collections. We all have these different charities that we're working with, and we're just a few of them. Not only Florida, but America and the world are rallying.
Yeah.
And
I do
you're
love
right.
that. And it feels good. It felt so good. Literally, my past 3 days have been all about charity. And I literally went from the Bahamas broadcast to a cancer charity event, literally went home, showered, and then went straight there. And I just feel so full of energy and like so happy. Like to give back is the best thing that I've ever been able to do. Yeah.
I think the most amazing thing about life, we get so wrapped up in a lot of negativity because
We do.
negativity, everything's energy. The way I see it, everything is energy.
Oh, completely.
And
If you're in a bad mood, I'm going to feel it and
Right.
it rubs off.
And negative energy is much more powerful than positive energy,
Completely.
which is very true. But it takes a lot of strength to continue positive energy and portray it onto other people, right? It's so true because it's so easy to go to the negative and
Yeah,
say, yeah,
it's easy.
but it's harder to go positive. But those who,
But the payoff.
that
So much
payoff's
better.
amazing, and the percentage of those who can actually weather the storm of the negativity and go to the positive is a much lower percentage than those that focus on the negative.
That's
That's
right.
why when you're on social media, you see a lot of negativity all the time. It's very driven, as opposed to
Those people are not
how much
on my
more
page.
positive.
I just don't know though how sometimes people say, "Oh, I'm going to have a break from social media. It's too negative." But for me, like I choose not to follow those people who are
No, you
negative.
have
My
to
social
too.
media is actually very positive because I follow positive websites, I follow positive people and
Yes.
influencers who I believe in.
Absolutely.
So I never
Yes.
will need a break from social media because I know how to regulate myself, number one, and I know how to regulate who I'm following.
And
And
who
they're-
has a voice in your ear.
Exactly.
Right. And then the other thing is that what a lot of people don't understand is that we're much more intelligent creatures than what we kind of
Give
make
ourselves credit
out to
for.
be. And the real reason is that we actually have the ability to change our thinking. Our minds are much more powerful than what we
You can create new neural pathways every day.
You all
Right.
live your life.
Yeah.
Correct. And the cool thing about it is you actually, and this is something that I learned over the last 2 years, but you could actually create the world that you want to live in.
Completely.
And
Oh, have you
once
read The Secret or watched the movie?
Yes.
That's an
I've seen it
Australian
a long
movie, by the
time
way.
ago.
The Secret.
Is it really?
Yes,
From
an
Down
Australian
Under?
woman created it.
Awesome.
Yeah, The Secret's from Down Under.
I did not know.
I like
I
that.
just knew Oprah liked it.
It's awesome.
Yes, Australian. I totally believe that. And one of my things is like, the power of positive energy. And I certainly believe that I'm here today because I
love it.
created this. I created my situation because I looked for opportunities to better my life. And I mean, I've been through ups and
Surround
downs,
yourself with
but
good people or pieces of shit.
exactly. And I was surrounded by people who I was not feeling.
Mhm.
And then I just changed my situation. And since then, my life has changed.
It's amazing, right?
The
Isn't
more
it amazing?
positive energy you
Yeah.
give off, the more positive energy comes back to you. If you're
That's-
constantly in this
You have
state,
just described this podcast, by the way. There are elements to it that are just very dude. The MMA thing,
Mhm.
that's very dude. But by the way, there's a lot of positivity in that. It's learning how to take care of yourself and self-defense or whatever. But everything I've seen from Joe on this podcast is like, yeah, at first you might look at it and go, a guy thing, it's a bunch of fucking locker room bullshit. No, this is how to be a good man.
I love that. And more men need to know
Thank
how to
you.
be a good man.
Thank you, man.
So more people need to listen to this
Don't think me.
podcast.
You're the
That's cool,
author
man.
of this message, and guess what? You bring on strong women
I do. Absolutely.
who
It takes a stronger man to be able to bring on a strong woman. It really does.
I'll do a shout to that if I think that's great. That's a cool saying right there.
make sure we don't
Oh,
run out.
God.
I
think I'm all right.
Do that.
Well, there's food over there. We can
Here it is, guys.
surround
There
yourself
you go.
with good people.
Wait, what
my
is it
friends.
again? What's the saying?
It takes a stronger man to be with a strong woman.
I like that.
Amen,
Very good.
sister.
Salute.
Gotta go down, okay.
Go on.
That's so good though. So we're giving this one away, and what else are we giving
Well,
away?
we've got 2 bottles of this to give away. And Joe, what are the parameters? How do our
How do they win?
I'm going to
Our
announce
followers.
it on social media, so stay tuned.
do you want to send them here to pick it up? What do you want to do?
Depends on who wins because we have listeners from
Sure.
all over the globe.
Oh,
my
yeah.
gosh.
So you may have to do some sort of.
Oh, you might have some from Australia. Now, my question is, can these people who are not watching necessarily right now, can they watch it later? Is it something that can be saved and we can watch later? Okay, I'll make sure I put it on all my social media.
Absolutely. I'll share everything with you, the links and
Websites.
everything. For those who are listening, obviously they've already subscribed, but for those who are just tuning in later on, it's a Guy Thing podcast. Obviously, you're on it right now if you're watching it. So all you have to do is subscribe. I'll get a list of all the subscribers that I have. I have a special electronic generating system software that I use, and I'll be able to go ahead and randomly select 2 very lucky winners that will be getting vodka and rum. That's pretty cool.
From
Nice.
CSI Spirits here in West Palm Beach.
Yeah.
Very
All natural.
nice.
All local, very charitable.
All natural.
Yes.
That makes me so happy.
I'm very happy.
More
with it,
companies
too.
need to
I
be
mean,
like that.
positivity. I like this whole positive,
Well, I mean, that's
these positive vibes that are going.
Yeah, throw out this
Yes,
positive
you know,
vibe.
First of all,
Yeah, gotta have
you
it.
and I would have never become friends if not for that.
Very true.
How did you guys meet?
Very true.
I was doing a tasting of my rums in a liquor store, and he came in to buy something.
Yeah. So
And we started talking. I tasted around the products, took home a bottle, gave me his card, and said, "Hey, call me up
Well,
if you
what
ever
was
want to
funny
do."
was because
Okay.
I was throwing a party at my house. So I was like, all right, I gotta get this, and this. And usually my go-to rum is Captain Morgan.
Yeah. Mhm.
So
Not anymore.
not anymore. I walked into the liquor store, I see this young chap just mixing drinks, and he goes,
Sprightly young chap.
hey, he goes, come here, you want to try some rum? And I go,
My pitch is, would you like to try some handmade local rum?
Nice.
And people
Of
always
course.
either
No one's
like,
going to say no.
well, people are there for cigarettes or lottery, or they don't drink
Oh,
or whatever. But most of the thing about that job is that people walk into a liquor store knowing pretty much what they want. And it's if you get somebody to say, "Okay, I'll try some,"
That's a big
you
thing.
got 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
well, no, it was just being open-minded, and of course I want to hear about it.
For sure, people hear the word local, and it's like, wait, what do you mean local? Where's local? And I was like,
And he was
well,
easy. He was so easy on the eyes, I couldn't help it.
Such a
Oh.
beautiful man.
pitch and woo right in my
I
face.
was just so, but it was great. I mean, trying out the rum, it was very good. It was excellent. I was like, yes. And he goes, and then $1 for every purchase goes to veterans. So I'm like, oh, even better.
That's great.
Count
Yeah.
me in. So I bought a bottle.
Mhm.
Loved it. It was delicious. I had my neighbors try it out. My buddies try it out. Everybody's like, this is
Okay.
really good shit. So here we go. I'm a Black
Nice.
Claw guy. As a matter of fact, I have no joke. I have 4 bottles in my liquor cabinet right now. Black Claw rum.
Nice.
Just chilling. I did an
You're
overstock for the
off to
hurricane
America's
just in
ears,
case.
my
Just in case.
I was just-
That's what Hurricane Prep
No,
is.
it's
I had some
true.
people call into the station and I go, look, are you ready? Have you got everything for the hurricane? Oh, yeah, I've got my vodka, I've got my rum, I've got my whiskey. I said, but what about the canned food? Oh, I'll get that later.
What about
There is no
God forbid if
there-
there's a catastrophe, you're gonna be too drunk to do anything.
Right? I know.
Can we
That's the
talk real
scary
quick
thing.
about the drink called the Hurricane?
Yes,
talk about
and people keep telling me I need to try it. Is it actually good? What's in it?
You need to have a real
Wait,
one.
New Orleans?
No.
No.
So there's a place in New Orleans. What's it called?
Patty O'Brien's.
Pat O'Brien's.
I've
yeah.
had it.
So they sell pouches of this powder,
Yeah.
and in that pouch lives nightmares because it's all chemicals and bullshit.
I've had it.
I'm not about that life.
Real Hurricane
It's pretty
needs passion fruit and nectar, a couple of kinds of rum and some juice.
I used to
and
grow
honey.
passion fruit, vine.
Why didn't you tell me that? I would have paid you to bring me some.
I know, right? From Australia?
Yeah.
That would have been phenomenal.
Passion fruit
passion fruit
vine.
and nectar
It's
is really hard
We
to
should
get.
do a podcast and go hunting for it in Australia. That would
Go
be cool.
hunting for a passion fruit vine. I got
Can
it.
we-
Crikey.
Can we call it Passion Quest?
I like
Oh,
that. All right,
You
all
come
right.
up with the names. I like it. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, if you don't have real passion fruit nectar, or at least passion fruit juice, you
Okay.
can't get anywhere near the real flavor profile of what a Hurricane ought to be. That Pat O'Brien stuff, It's what hangovers are made out of.
I've had
Is a hangover partly
That's
from the
wild.
sugar as well?
It's
I feel
from
like the
sugar,
sugar hangover is
But
worse.
also, so let me put it to you
I
this
have a
way.
little bit of a hangover today, so I'm hoping the alcohol's going to help me.
The vodka will help.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, I don't need any more.
This poor girl. Hey, I don't even know
I
what's.
can't keep up with you, man.
I'm taking
I
over
feel
now.
like we now have a new hashtag. This POUR girl. This poor girl.
I love it.
My brain spells things. So with regard to hangovers, there are only 3 ways you can put color into liquor. Everything comes off as still totally clear. Vodka, gin, rum, whiskey, tequila, brandy, everything comes off clear.
Even those dark liquors.
All of them. The main way that you put color into booze, those dark liquors like whiskeys, they sit in a barrel for a long time, and the barrel is charred on the inside before you ever add the liquor.
Oh.
So that cauterizes the sugars in the dark of that burnt wood. Not only interacts with the liquor to give some color, but it also takes away some of that harshness. You'll hear people talk about mellowing a spirit.
Okay.
That's the main way. The second way is to infuse it with something, like you've seen a tea bag go into hot water and it leaches color out. The way we make our spiced rum is the same way. It's an infusion, and some of those natural botanicals will put color there.
Okay.
Those are the 2 good ways. The third way is called food dye.
And they put caramel color in
Caramel color, food
which
dye,
has been
many
linked
kinds.
to all
If
kinds
you've
of
ever
issues in
seen
children,
like
especially.
any tequila where the word gold is on the label, that's not barrel aged. That's food dye.
Wow.
And your body can't metabolize that, and that is where a hangover comes from.
That makes me so angry. You know the laws here for what can be in food is just
Nightmares.
disgusting.
Nightmares.
Oh,
In
yeah,
Australia,
it's horrible.
half of
Horrible.
those things that you see here are illegal.
Other part, that's the thing about traveling.
So you gotta be careful with fast food.
Or just don't use it.
But it's private. Everything's privately
Yeah.
owned here, whereas everything in Australia is more government owned. So they have to.
That's socialized.
It's more
I know that.
socialized.
Yeah,
It is
it's
more
so close.
socialized.
Yeah.
You know, there's a place. Oh, this is a random side topic, but there's a place
We're full.
in Australia called Adelaide, and right now they're
It's
trialing.
way south, right?
Yes, and they're trialing this new thing where there's a cat curfew in place because the government can do this. So cats have been killing animals and whatever, birds in particular, the native wildlife.
Magpies.
Magpies wouldn't want that to happen.
So there are iguanas. Okay, got it.
we have iguanas.
No, I'm saying there are version of iguanas because iguanas are an invasive species here in
Yes, the
Florida.
cats are an invasive species now, essentially, because they're killing our
Holy
native
shit,
wildlife.
That's wild.
So if you've got a cat,
Like a
And
house cat? or
a
like
house cat,
barn
if you've got a house cat, and you let it out between the hours of like 8 p.m. and 7 a.m.,
Someone's killing it.
no, but the government will
We'll
fine
find
you.
it and find you.
And
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 give
if
you
they're
Okay.
worried that your cat may be a nuisance, they will put you under surveillance.
All right. So in Florida, our iguanas are invasive species. Everyone's allowed to kill them.
Yes, you're allowed to do
yeah,
that.
you
And
can
you know
shoot
what?
them with a spear gun and cook them and eat them like they
They
ate.
do
But
that
there's
with
actually this-
kangaroos in Australia. I'm sorry to tell you.
Seriously.
Kangaroos, they
I know
can do that.
people- You're not supposed to anymore. but
It's so
People do that shit.
They eat them?
I have never tried it.
That would be
totally
gamey.
try it. I would try it out.
You know,
just for
it
once.
sounds cliche, but they say it tastes like chicken.
I've
I've
tried.
had alligator.
There's one restaurant in
That's
Australia
cute.
that sells all kinds of native
That was
animals,
all
which
right.
is really kind of scary. But you can eat like Australian animals in this one restaurant
Okay.
in Australia. So I've tried all kinds of things, including possum, which is not like the possum you guys have here.
I hear that's like oily and funky and nasty and gamey.
I liked it. I did not like the
Aussie possum.
alligator, Aussie possum. I did not like the alligator. That was awful. It was like slimy snake. It was weird. It was gross.
Do you know what part of the animal? Was it the
No, I
tail?
don't know.
Okay.
But this was
the
back when I
knee?
ate meat.
What's the knee?
Shin steak. Alligator shin steak.
Oh, I'm just not about eating
I've had
native
alligator.
animals. And then the kangaroo is kind of gamey too. It's kind of like deer.
Is
I
this why you
think.
became an ocean vegan?
An ocean vegan. I would like to not
I
eat
like that. That's
seafood
funny.
because of the high mercury and stuff like actually I was going to tell you before some kids in California at a university a bunch of them ended up with mercury poisoning because they were all eating tuna too much
too
because
much.
it's cheap and
That's
it's
how Charlie the
easy.
tuna died, mercury poisoning.
Charlie
Too
the
much
tuna.
He was an advertising icon. Really canned tuna in the 80s.
Way too much mercury into it. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's scary. The whole thing's scary. And then I love shrimp, which we call prawns in Australia. Throw a prawn on the Barbie is what it should be, but that was an advertising
on the
campaign made up by Australia to get Americans to Australia. Throw another shrimp on the Barbie. That's not what we say. It's all fake.
The Bobby.
Yes.
That's what my mother says.
Throw a prawn on the Barbie is
Well,
what
she
you would
just
say.
said the Bobby.
I thought you just put shrimp on my sister's doll called Barbie.
Just throw some shrimp on top of
I
the
didn't
Barbie
know. I
doll.
was a little kid when I heard it.
Right.
I
Like, why
was
is she?
like,
Does she want to eat the shrimp?
There's hair now. My shrimp.
But
Right.
talking about getting back to New Orleans, I've I've had crawfish. I've had jambalaya.
I've never had crawfish. I've heard one of my girlfriends just came back from New Orleans. She said it was amazing.
Road trip.
We have to do New Orleans and Key West.
Deal. I will
Key West
podcast
is
out
New Orleans' little brother.
There's
You know
a
what?
gluten-free Key West pie.
We'll-
What's it
we'll go
called?
down
The key
Key
lime.
lime.
I had a gluten-free one.
If you have key lime pie and it is green,
Yes.
it is lime pie. Key limes are yellow.
No, they're not.
Yes,
The
they
key
fucking
limes
are.
little tiny green.
No,
I've seen
that's a dwarf lime.
No, my life has been a lie.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
What? Get out of here. What even is America?
Key lime is indigenous only to the Florida Keys. It is
Yeah.
kind of a pale yellow. It's like a milky thing. You put it into sweet and condensed milk and add some other
Condensed
stuff.
milk. My mum used to eat that stuff out of the can.
And
condensed
she's now a big fat person.
No,
Oh.
she's not. Very skinny, actually.
Jane the Blackadder.
Yeah, Jane Blackadder, very skinny.
So we're going to New Orleans.
Like,
and
like
what
an
we're gonna
actual
do-
snake is not. Never mind.
Right.
We're gonna go to New Orleans, and we're gonna go down Bourbon Street.
Jerk off the sky.
So this is rated G.
The vodka's working out.
That's right. Rated G.
Everyone else is not drunk
I got the
that's
game
watching this.
I got the game
It's
plan
getting
right now.
broadcast, by the way, out there in the distillery. So
Oh, it is?
They're hearing it.
Yeah, it's out there.
Oh,
Hi,
that's-
people.
Yeah, they
So-
don't care.
They're drinking too.
They're drunk.
They're
I got
not. They
But I got
should
the game plan. We go to New Orleans. We go down Bourbon Street. We're gonna stop at Nola's.
Never done
We're
that,
gonna
but
have
I've heard it's good.
It's really fun. We'll stop at Nola's. We'll go to we'll go get some crawfish. We'll get some jambalaya. We'll go to Legends Park. We'll have some nice, fresh, only in New Orleans style Bloody Marys, which are pretty amazing. in
That's
New
something I've never
Orleans.
been able to stomach is a Bloody Mary because I am obsessed with pasta and red tomato sauce, and I feel like
Tomato.
I'm drinking tomato
That
sauce.
is so
have to
cute.
make
She
you-
said tomato.
My friend that I spent,
Dog.
my friend that I spent the what was going to
But
be
it is. You're gonna talk like me, and I'll talk like you.
Yeah,
and I'm just gonna not have changed.
at all. You'll still be spurting out hurricane tips
Right,
and my
yeah.
alcohol
Here's
facts.
how to make this.
Mhm.
My friend that I spent what would have been the hurricane with loves bloodies, and so I actually have a juicer, and I juiced 2 fresh Roma vine tomatoes, and then I blended that with another tomato.
Tabasco sauce and tomato sauce to me is like something like a meal.
But if
Not
you
something I
do
wanna
it right,
drink.
and like so, the thing about juicing it is that it's now tomato flavored water. As
Gross.
in, well, but if it's a savory cocktail.
Yeah.
If you do it right and you use a little like beef bouillon, which I know goes against your ocean vegan thing.
My ocean vegan thing.
Like it's all about flavors and making sure that they balance right.
Uh-huh.
That's any cocktail.
Mhm.
So Bloody Mary, I get it if it's not your jam. But he's right. In New Orleans, they have all those great Creole seasonings.
Yeah.
And so what I do to put, you can get like a dry powdered kind of seasoning combination on the rim of any drink.
I love that.
that. So what I do is blend Creole New Orleans seasonings with the seasonings that the Cubans use to marinate pork in dried format.
Herbs and
I sip-
spices, I love herbs. They can change the flavor of anything.
Oh,
Anything. I use them
100%.
deeply, especially because I don't eat a lot of, eat any meat, but because I don't eat meat, I need those flavors to come through, and I use herbs and
So
spices.
to put that on the rim to augment what is otherwise sort of texturally a flat bloody, because it's more tomato flavored water because I juiced it rather than
And
blending it.
vodka.
Well, the vodka's in there, of course, but other flavors. There's a little bit of fresh lime juice. I had
Ooh.
an imperial stout from Copper Point Brewing near here.
Mhm.
That's actually right by my house, Copper Point.
Yeah,
Yeah. Great brewery.
that
by the
barrel
way.
right there. I don't know if you can see it peeking out.
Yeah.
The hotel in Palm Beach called OEAU.
Manalapan? Yeah.
Palm Beach
I
is
thought that was
super fancy.
the old Ritz-Carlton.
Ritz, there you go. So they gave us this barrel that has now got our rum in it, but the first fill was a 9-year aged Tennessee sour mash rye called George Dickel, and then Copper Point put an
I
imperial
like that
stout
last
in
name,
it.
Dickel.
Tickle.
If you ever pour,
Cocktail.
I almost wish my last name was Dickel.
well, here's what I used to do when I was
so
in,
many jokes with
when
that.
I was in college. We used to use George Dickel whiskey with vanilla Coke, and it was a vanilla Dickel.
I used to love vanilla Coke. I don't drink soft drinks,
It's a
but I like
chocolate
that.
Dickel.
It's racist.
It's not.
I'm just kidding. Anyway,
Just
so
have a
that
little
barrel.
chocolate. Come on, man.
I've been drinking vodka on air. So that barrel had the imperial stout in it, and then they bottled it. And they gave me a bottle just as a thanks for partnering up. So I cracked it open. It was the hurricane. We might be gonna die. So let's make sure we drink all the good stuff.
We
I want to
might
do a podcast live, Cafe Du Monde, right on the Mississippi River in New
Oh.
Orleans. And I say we go fucking buck wild.
Fucking buck wild.
Fucking buck wild.
What is that?
It's different from bucking.
It's like all of this continuing.
Oh,
It's
getting
For an
drunk.
entire afternoon.
But
Yeah.
also
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
on air,
On
vividly
air.
saying whatever comes to mind, which is what
Yeah.
That's dangerous, isn't
That is
it?
dangerous, but yet fun. I'm allowed to do so. I am allowed to
She's
do
got
it.
a public image stuff.
That's true.
You and I,
I
like,
could drag people down.
Is this a thing for you guys as well? But when I drink red wine, it's like truth serum. It's a problem.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
will say anything and everything.
Super relaxed.
The only time
and
I've ever
just
been in
everything
big
comes
trouble
out.
was because one of my girlfriends, her boyfriend said to me, "Oh, I don't know if I want to, keep going out with her," and I was drunk, and so I said to her, "Oh yeah, he told me the other day he didn't want to keep going out with you."
Ooh,
I have
you
heard
have
that.
truth serum.
Oh,
Oh,
buddy of mine-
truth serum.
You know what? Next episode we'll do it at a winery. And you come
Oh
out.
no,
That'll be so much fun.
a buddy of mine, his ex-girlfriend,
Fuck
did
you.
very similarly. She would get like, he added in, I don't know if this is misogynistic or not, but he said anytime she was like PMSing, and then she would get some red wine in her, she would turn into, let me tell you something about you that you don't know.
Oh boy.
Oh, this is my favorite expression that Americans say. You know what your problem is?
Oh, it's
That's an American thing
Oh, yeah.
that I just love.
People start
Oh.
analyzing who you are.
Tell me
and it
what my
always comes
problem
out of
is.
alcohol in a glass.
Well, I got a lot of problems.
Do you want to add to my list? Or do you want to help me with some
I'm
shit?
wondering if you know one of them.
And this,
I can't stand it.
It's
I
like
cannot
the
stand
game
it.
of memory, like what's under the card. Are you right? Is that what's right?
I love how it usually comes with "you know what your problem is," the finger pointing.
A finger in my face is almost never
Oh,
gonna make me happy.
me neither.
No. See, I'm all
You
about the
need to come
positive
home with
vibes.
me.
Right now.
That's the only.
Is that how you say it? Sex.
See, I wouldn't say come home
Well,
with me.
but if you hold on to this,
I would say you come in
then
back
it's
in my
like
ute to have
carnal.
sex.
He's gone to the ute again.
I like the ute.
Everyone's in
man.
the ute. You
I
come
love
back to my
the
ute and we're
I
gonna
wanna
have
get a
sex.
ute now.
You should get 2 utes.
Do wear
The
utes.
2 utes. Excuse me, Mr. Game. What's a ute? I'm sorry.
What is
The
a ute? The ute.
I would love you guys to get a ute. I would love to see a ute around America anywhere.
I'm
It's
down
called an
with
El
you.
Camino. It's a
Yeah, it's pretty much an El Camino.
No, a ute is a ute is a ute is
I
a
have
ute.
no idea.
You gotta get a,
Anybody for
a
Carolina?
Holden ute or a Ford ute.
Maybe it's a
That's it.
Chevy. I think it's a Chevy.
No, you gotta get a Holden or a Ford ute. That's it.
Ford Ute.
It's not like it's a word for
If
something else.
you and
It is
I-
what it is, and that's it.
Each get matching.
But the whole Holden's actually a GM company. It's not
Yes,
a-
yes.
I think we should each get a ute so that they're two.
I'm down with a ute.
Gotta get a
And then
ute
we
and then
gotta-
go to
Then
I'm
we'll
down with
have
the
our,
utes.
then we'll have our Key West to New Orleans road trip. She'll take turns which one of the 2 utes she wants to ride in.
Right, you guys get
There
to
you
sleep
go.
in one ute. I get my own ute.
She gets her own ute,
Yeah.
and me and you like
Yeah,
in the
you guys
like,
get to
so
cuddle.
safe. Hey,
Yeah,
It's
you
gonna
take
be
turns
like,
at being big spoon.
Cheech and Chong,
I
just with booze.
This is getting really weird.
It is.
It just got real. That's what happens on this podcast, and with these
Do you
drinks,
remember?
that's
Do you
what
remember? Well,
happens.
that's the alcohol.
So let me ask you this: how could my listeners follow you
Uh-huh.
and also the radio station?
So, my personal is Amelia on Air, at Amelia on Air, AMELIA on Air. And that's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everything. And then Big 1059 is our Instagram, Big 1059 FM. I also have a blog on the website, big1059.com, keyword Amelia.
Awesome.
And all the ways that you can help with hurricane victims still
Yes.
is actually linked to that.
Perfect.
That's great.
So if anybody wants to donate to any hurricane victims in the Bahamas and you want to do something great and positive, please
Big 1059 FM.
visit Amelia's social media
Mhm.
and you'll be able to get a link and see how you can do that. So that's
Can I
great.
jump in
That's
on
really
that a
awesome.
little
And John also has something going on, Steel Tie Spirits.
Yeah.
Although a lot of amazing drinks here at Steel Tie and great stories and great classes. We're also at Steel Tie doing something amazing for the hurricane victims. So please.
So, well, we are partnered with a group. They're out of California, but they have a local office here in West Palm Beach, and they're called Eagles Wings Foundation. A couple of my really good buddies have been over there at their place the last couple of days, helping just to set up pallets and get them, like you say, onto the boats and the planes and whatever's going to get them over there.
We're doing
Eagles Wings-
helicopters.
All right.
Amazing.
It's Eagles Wings Foundation on Facebook. If you want to make a cash donation or like run through a card, it's instant. These guys, I don't know like the numbers, but they are like pretty much virtually every penny. All they are is volunteers, and everything that they do goes straight to the Dorian victims.
That's the important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you're nearby here and you just want to make it easy, come on by. We've got a giant stack over here, a couple of pallets that are filling up. And by the way, we have some local fishermen, some local charter boat guys, and I hate that I can't remember the name. of the group, but they are local dudes who do professional fishing in the Bahamas, so they know those channels inside and out. So if you know people on an island, if you, let's say you want your donated goods to go to the Abaco Island or Grand Bahama or whatever, you can bring that here to Steel Tie, 1615 Clare Avenue, West Palm Beach, 33401, and you can have us put a label on it. This needs to go to a specific island, and we got guys that are doing shuttle runs between here and the Bahamas that can make sure your donation goes straight to a specific island.
It's awesome.
Find us. You can look it up on our Instagram, Steel Tie Spirits, @Steel Tie Spirits on your IG. And there is a post from, I think, 2 days ago, maybe 3, that says the name of this charter fishing company, but they are the ones making the direct runs to an island. So if you want your donation to go directly to a place in a group, we will take care of that for you.
I also forgot to mention that I'm on 98.7 The Gator at West Palm Beach. On weekends, The Gator tomorrow. Yeah, every Sunday.
That a girl.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
6 till 12. 6 a.m.
Well?
Yeah, 6 a.m. till 12 noon.
So
Yeah,
there you
I love
go.
West Palm as well.
Great. I got to follow those guys too.
That's right.
I want to come on the air with you and make drinks one day.
Hell
That would be
yeah,
fun.
that's an idea.
I mean,
There
if
you
it's
go.
Sundays, we'll just call it communion.
Yeah, I like it. I like
That's
it.
awesome. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. The Guy Thing Podcast, doing it again here live, West Palm Beach, Florida, the Warehouse District. The lovely guest from down under, Amelia De Vita. Check her out on Instagram. Also, my buddy here, John Moore, the cocktailologist here at Steel Tie Spirits. He'll make you rum. He'll make you vodka. He'll make you bourbon. He'll make you gin. He'll make you drunk. Do it here anytime you want, and he'll make you smile. Guys, stay tuned. Sorry for this live episode. I got quite a few other Skype interviews that are in the pipeline. Some have already been done. Some are coming up in the future. A lot of stuff you're going to see is from a lot of the people in the UFC, bare knuckle. There's going to be some wrestlers that are involved as well. It's going to be a lot of different things in that arena. There's a reason why these things are happening. I'm going to announce these things as they come out. I can't tell you all the secrets right away, but it's going to be a lot of fun, so stay tuned. And I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. But stay tuned. I'm working on an episode next week, next Saturday, coming up with an author from Amazon. He's got a very, very cool, interesting book that's on Amazon right now. It's about gangs and thug life in the Bronx. It's going to be really cool, an enlightening story from a very cool individual. So check that out. Stay tuned on social media. I'll give you all the details on that. And also stay tuned on social media. I'll announce the winner of the vodka. I'll announce the winner of the rum. I promise you there's going to be 2 winners thanks to this fella right here. John, thank you so much.
My pleasure, brother.
Amelia, thank you so much. It's been an absolute
So much fun.
pleasure to have you on.
Now we got to go get you a gluten-free beer.
Let's do
So
it.
let's do it. Guys, enjoy your Saturday.
Be safe
See you
out there,
next
people.
week. Peace.
Take care of each other. Good job, everybody.
Nice.